construction industry in the community. He's well known for his proficiency in 5D BIM tools and quantity surveying software, which includes Navy's Works Manage, Blue Beam Revu, e-Takeoff, and Domex QX, and so on. QX Usman is a co-founder of a tech solution company that helps companies, individuals, and the educational sector in the training and implementation of building information model, BIM. His team has successfully trained over 500 professionals and students in the AECO sector. He is currently researching the technologies that will be used to improve the PropTech and Contech industries through the use of augmented reality, holograms, and other technologies. He is a data analyst and a certified eTwin developer by Bentley Systems. So QS Olayemi Usman will be doing this later with QS Chijioke, and QS Chijioke holds a PGD in Information and Communication Technology and an HND in Quantity Surveying from the Federal Polytechnic Nekede, Owerri. He's a quantity surveyor with over 13 years working experience in the use of Oracle Primavera P6, Autodesk, and Microsoft Office desktop products and online applications. He's a cost estimator with Arab contractors and have over 10 years working experience using professional estimating packages and computer-aided takeoff applications using PlaneSwift and Navy's Works Manage. He is currently the BIM and CAD administrator and instructor at the CAP Professional System Technology Limited with over 12 years software coaching experience with particular application to construction. He is a passionate computer enthusiast dedicated to exploring computerized technologies to offer contemporary solutions in construction and has facilitated in several workshop programs on the subject of BIM, estimating, and pricing of construction works. So I think these are two facilitators with very wide experience, and I believe that today we are going to go because they are handling the practical demonstration of Navy's Works software. So I believe that we're going to get a lot, and I want to employ us, please mute your mic. If you have any question, drop it in the chat box, and we will definitely create time for question and answer after they taking their sessions. So we welcome QS Olayemi Usman to start the session for this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I just want to know if you are hearing me. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm hearing you very clearly.
Good morning. We can hear you.
Good morning.
Well.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have me on the call, and I'm really glad to be with great minds coupled with the YKSF chairman. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to share my idea about Navy's works. Okay, without wasting much time, we have 3 hours for this course, and I've been told this is more of an hands-on training, so we won't be going more on the theoretical aspect because we've done that in day 1 and day 2 section. So this class is mainly going to be a practical hands-on session, and I would like us to understand that since the practical hands-on section, wherever we feel that we are confused, we can just try to call my attention into it, and I will be able to answer your questions. Okay, without wasting much time, my name is Olayemi Usman, and I'm founder of Prospect PIM Fame. As the moderator has already stated some of my profile, I would just want to go by saying that okay, Navy's software it's not it's a software done by Autodesk corporation. I always say that Navy's
good morning.
I'm sorry, QS Olayemi, please. I don't know if you are in your own domain. There are some people talking behind you, and it's reflecting. Then it's your network seems to be, I don't know, maybe it's the mic that you are using. Your voice is not coming out clear. It's breaking.
Okay, is it better now? Because the noise was not from my domain here.
Please,
Okay,
if,
I
if
think
you are
it's
not
better.
speaking, others should mute their mics.
Okay.
We keep saying that over and over. Please, let's be attentive. And please, when the speaker is asking if we can hear, please allow only the chairperson and myself to answer them back that we can hear clearly, please. Because I think when on muting to answer that, we forget to mute a microphone back. So please, let's be mindful of that. Thank you very much. You can continue, sir.
Thank you, ma. Okay, so as I was saying earlier on, Naviswork is a software which is done by Autodesk Corporation, and they have all different suites. And Naviswork is not just for mainly quantity surveyors alone; it's for industry practitioners. But we are the quantity surveyor who is found in a niche as regards this software because it helps our work in terms of quantifications, it helps our work in terms of accuracy and estimation. So that's why I've been able to spend some years to understand how these softwares work, and I'll be eager and I'll be glad to to give more details about it. So without wasting much time, the course outline is going to be, we are going to be having a brief introduction about Naviswork. We're going to be understanding the panels in Naviswork. We're going to be understanding what is called relation tree. We're going to understand that, okay, this this aspect of Naviswork is very, very key to us. We're going to setting up our project because whenever you want to do anything in software, there's a key parameters things you need to set. Secondly, also we're going to be looking at how to integrate these softwares with either BSMM or NRM or whatever measurement rules we are using. I'm going to be carrying out some quantifications and applying the resources. And when you hear about applying the resources, it is more of you are carrying formatting your quantity takeoffs from Naviswork, and also we have been told to look at clash detections and how we can export clash. So okay, so for the interface, we're going to be looking at how to append. We're going to be understanding that okay, when you export Naviswork, when the second class talked about Revit, and we're able to understand okay, Revit is more of a 3D softwares which you can generate your 3D. And we need to understand that Naviswork is more of a software that works very well with the 3D model, because now the industry is moving forward. Everybody's looking at, okay, neglecting the 2D aspect, okay, trying to focus more on BIM. Everybody's talking about BIM. And when you talk about BIM, the basic thing that you need to understand that, okay, you should have a model. A model should be in a 3D format where you can visualize very well. And we need to understand that, okay, for Navisworks, there are 3 file formats. We have the NWC, NWD, and NWF. This we are going to be understanding when we are looking at the software. And also, we are going to be understanding the quantification aspect of software and how to set up your projects, understanding the work breakdown structures, and be mindful that this work breakdown structure will be similar to what the BSMM 4 are. And we're going to be creating catalog and going to be understanding the selection tree, like I said earlier on, and we're going to be showing a demonstration of how we can export this to Excel and putting it in our bill of quantities. And for same thing, we're going to be looking at clash detection, like I said earlier on. But please bear this in mind, Naviswork doesn't prepare bills like that. It gives you the basic item of bill of quantity, which is the quantity itself, give you accurate quantity itself. Everybody has different bill formats, everybody has different bill templates. So it is difficult for this software to just give you one particular build template. So we just need to understand that. So without wasting much time, I'll be switching to my screen now. Please, can you see my new screen? Hello.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, I think it should be up now. Can you see my screen, ma?
Yes, it's up now.
Okay. Yes. So this is a Naviswork interface. Now this is a 3D model, which is a real project currently in Lagos State here. Now we need to understand that for us to load this model in 3D, you can get 3D either from Revit, either from ArchiCAD, either from Tekla, because there are 3D softwares outside which you can use in Navisworks. Navisworks can able to read 3D software. So we need to understand that for you to upload 3D model into Navisworks, you need to have a basic understanding of the conversions. Now, if it is from Revit, you are using it because Revit and Navisworks is done by same company. You don't have issues with conversions. But if you are getting a model from Tekla or any three other 3D softwares, you need to have to convert it to IFC because that is the only way these softwares can be able to read it. But now, because our first class was based on Revit, so now this model is on Revit, so it is easier for us to import it into the software. And for us to import it, we have to come to this tab here. You can see open. It's just like our normal, all of us are familiar with at least Microsoft Word. So we need to understand, you just go to the file here, go to open and go to the file selection and click on your open easily. And when you are, this is a save button, as we all know, we don't need to talk more on this. This is save as on the likes. So this is at the next tab here, it is append. Now this append is where you can combine two or more models together. For example, you want to combine your architectural and your structural models together. You have to come to this append and choose wherever location you have your models. Now this is refresh. For example, you have been working on your models and there's an update. Instead of you doing your measurement again, you can just refresh and automatically your quantities will be updated. There's no need for us doing measurement again. Okay, the other basic thing here is selection tree. Now, when I have this, when you upload your model into your software, you are going to be having interface like this. Now, selection tree is very, very important because it shows you the breakdown of your model. And now, if your selection tree is not done very well, it will be difficult for you as a quantity surveyor or a project manager even to run your 5D analysis and your 4D analysis. Why I say that, look at this model. This is about an 8th floor with a roof level of plan. Now, at every point in time, at every level, you are saying this is a basement level 2, basement level 1. I have the site, I have the gatehouse, I have the ground floor, I have a mezzanine floor, I have the first floor, second floor, and the like. As you can see, as I'm clicking on each of the floor, every floor is being highlighted in blue. You can see this is the 4th floor, this is the 5th floor, this is the 6th floor. So you can see everything is being highlighted in blue. For just imagine you are in a scenario that you click on, maybe I'm clicking on basement and something in your roof is highlighting in blue. Automatically, it will be difficult. It's difficult for you to run your analysis. So the betterment your model, the easier for you as a cost manager for you to get your quantifications out. Please, are we together? Am I too fast?
No, go ahead. We are on with you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, as I was saying earlier, so for example, let's open a floor here. Let's expand a floor here. Now, under this 3rd floor here, I can see my ceiling, I can see my curtain panels, I can see my doors, I can see my mechanical equipment, I can see my plumbing features, I can see my rooms, and I can see my walls. So these walls are the block walls. Okay, for example, I want to see what more is contained in the wall. I will expand more. So I can see basic wall. Let me expand more. So now with this expansion more, I can see what's its makeup of my wall. Now I'm having interior 150 render on block. I'm having interior 230 block. I'm having concrete wall. I'm having exterior wall. I'm having interior 100 wall. So it is easier for me to easily calculate all my 100 walls. It's easier for me to calculate all my 50 walls without me holding a pen and paper. Now I understand that there's a 300 concrete wall. This automatically is a structural element. There's no need for me to do it when I'm doing my walls. So let's say this is now there are some models that you might get and it might not be done like this. because you might not be easily able to differentiate your exterior and your interior wall. That is why whenever you are working in a BIM environment or you are working on a BIM project, there's something they call a BIM execution plan. So these are BIM execution plan is what each professional submits. It's just it's just more like a backup contract document to show that what am I going to be needing for me to have a seamless process in my project execution. Now, as a quantity surveyor, we can easily develop our BEP plans to share, okay, this is how the, hello? Oh, is that, okay? Can you hear me, please? Hello, all?
Yeah, your line is breaking.
Mine is still breaking?
I guess yes, just now, but I can hear you. But it's
Okay,
breaking.
It's okay here, except your network is poor.
okay, because
Okay.
all right, no problem. Thank you. Okay, as I was saying earlier on, so now when you have that BP plan, you can easily state that, okay, this is how your model is going to be, this is how model should be done so that it will be easier for everybody to interpret. Because when you have a complex process, you're not really solving any problem again. Technology or BIM should make our process to be seamless or not complex again. Okay, without wasting much time there, we basically explain what the selection tree is and how it is contained. You can see that this is similar to all floors. Let's say I'm opening about 6th floor now. Let me say 6th floor level. I can still see curtain panels, cylinders, mechanical equipment, and I can still see my walls, which is similar to what I have earlier on. Let me just open this basic wall. I can still see the same thing. I can still see the same thing. So because that means we have same elements on each floor, which is similar. So that is about selection tree. Now, when you talk about set is being used when you want to group your elements for the analysis, which in the second speaker, Mr. Shijoki, is going to be talking about. So we are going to set is going to be used there. Now, hide elements, we have hide elements, we have require, we have hide unselected, we have unhide off. For example, like let me say I want to see everything on my 6th floor alone. Let's say I want to just see everything on my 6th floor. 6th floor, and okay, this is my 6th floor. Let me hide unselected. So I can easily, oh, sorry. Click on my 6th floor. I can easily see that, okay, this is everything on my 6th floor. This is everything on my 6th floor in terms of block wall, and I can see my floor, and I can see my curtain panels on that 6th floor alone. Can you see this is the block wall, this is the concrete wall. So when I click on this, I can see that this is a concrete 350 concrete wall on the selection tree. If I click on this, I can see that, okay, this is the room itself. This is the service staircase. So let me click on this room. I can see that this is a male toilet. I can see that this is a block, which is a 225 rendered block. So whatever information you are clicking here, you are seeing it on your selection tree. So that is the benefit of hide and unhide elements. So now let's look at the next item here, which is on hide, or for example, you want to just see everything, or you just have to click on idle, and every other thing will come back. So let's say this is properties. Now properties is where you check your specifications notes. Now let me click on, okay, if we click on properties here, this will come up. So let's say I want to check the property of a wall. I want to check the properties of a wall. Let me click on this. Let me click on this. Bring my property out. Let me pin it down. So I can see that, okay, this particular wall, it is okay. These are the properties of that particular walls here, which we can see, and we can see, okay, this is okay. Okay, yeah. Basic is being a basic wall. This is the ID of that particular wall. Okay, structural using is not a structural wall. That's why you are seeing 0 here. This is, and you can easily say, okay, this is the volume of that wall. If it's the concrete wall, if it's you can easily see the length of the wall, 1.65. This is a single wall, a particular wall in this part on the sixth floor. So we can easily say, okay, this is where we can see the properties of every individual element. But you need not worry yourself about that, because your own goal is majorly is to get the quantities and understand the building properly. Now, the next one is clash detective. Clash detective, that is going to be the next thing we are going to be looking at, is where you can run analysis on two elements. For example, the mechanical and electrical, you can run analysis on them to checkmate which elements is clashing, because most projects now we should understand that there should be little or no variations. And for us to do all those things, we need to understand our models is very well detailed before we even go to site. Timelining is when the 4D scheduling comes in. Quantification is what we are going to be using majorly on this for this particular class. Okay, wasting much time on that. The basic item also. Okay, here also review for review. For example, you might want to just do some on-screen measurement, but just to check the width of something, you check the length of something. You can really do your simple measurement here, and you can get your on-screen measurement here. But I use that majorly. Probably I want to confirm something. I can use that to get my quantities out, just for me to checkmate. As by the way, okay. That's basically about the ribbons on the top ribbon here. So this place is the left ribbon where you have your selection tree, and this is the right ribbon. So let's move to the point of today's class now, which is the quantification. So whenever you want to do your quantification, we are going to be using this architectural model and structural model. I've chosen a same project. I have a structural model as well here. So we are going to be using for this architectural model, we are just going to be calculating our blocks just for the architectural model. I'm not going to be looking deep. For the structural model, we're going to be calculating our concrete and how we can get our formwork and how we can get our rebars with just some clicks here. So without wasting much time, for us to do quantification here, we click on quantifications. This tab is going to come up. Okay. Okay, this tab is going to come up now. For you to do any quantification, you need to set up your project. Why are you setting up your project? You're setting up your project for your interactions with the softwares for you to be on same same sync. So yeah, you click on start up your project. Now you can see I have block work catalog, I have class 3 catalog. These are my past trainings I've done. I created different catalog. What is the catalog? Like I said earlier, catalog is just more like a BSMA, incorporating into a model. For example, if I'm going to be doing a project like this again, just for me to use the same catalog for a project and use it for next project instead of creating a catalog. Catalog is more like a break. Catalog is more of like a work breakdown structures to know. Please, can you mute your mic? Yeah. Catalog is more of like a breakdown structure. For example, in Naviswork, you in digital construction world, they are like classification should be done in 4, like the omni class and the uni class should be done in 4. So Naviswork is in line with that standard. So whenever taking off you are doing or qualifications you are doing in Naviswork is going to be in 4 subsections. So for example, I'm going to be having exterior walls. I'm going to be having basic wall. For example, I'm going to be having basic wall, exterior walls, and what is the size of the exterior wall? Is it 25 or is it 150? Any other thing? We are going to be seeing how that is going to be done. But for the sake of this class, we are assuming that we don't have any catalog, so we are going to be choosing none. If you have an existing catalog, you choose existing catalog. But for this case, of sake of this class, I'm going to be choosing none. So click on next. Now we are in this aspect part of the word. We are familiar with the metric measurement, not the imperial measurement. So we are going to be clicking on the imperial measurements here. Next. So click on show metric, next, and finish. So basically the setting up is not much than that. So we'll set up our project. Now let me create a quantification for my block work on my fourth and fifth floor. And I will show you how we can even create the block work for everything at once. But let's click for the fifth floor first. Let's just say fifth floor. So what am I going to do? Now we understand under this quantification workbook, we have under this quantification place here, we have workbook, we have resource catalog, we have sheet browser, we have item catalog. Workbook is where you see your measurements. Resource catalog is where you see your how do I put it, your formatted quantities in terms of probably you are adding you're formatting your form work or your reinforcement, because now you can see now you can't it is very rare for you to be getting form work model. It's very rare. You can't get something like that. So in order for you to avoid going back to the table and be doing by the manual measurement, you can format everything on the software and get your quantities out. Now sheet browser is where you can easily upload your floor plans, just for you to relate your floor plans and your 3D model. You can easily do that. Now, item catalog is the major thing where you create the catalog itself. So now we will be creating a catalog itself for block wall alone. So for you to create a catalog, you are going to come to the new group. And now remember, the catalog is more like a BSMM. You know, the BSMM breakdown is in 4 breakdown as well. If we've checked it, it's in 4 breakdown. So because everything is more of a code now. So let's say, for example, you can see for the work breakdown structures, I'm having 1 here. So let's say first one, I'm having 4th floor. 4th floor block. 4th floor block wall. So the next in that particular line is going to be either interior or exterior. So let's create exterior and interior. For me to do that, you know, I'm creating a sub breakdown now, not a major breakdown, because if I click outside, I click on new group again, you can see I'm having 1 and 2 on this WBS. I'm having 1 and 2, and it shouldn't be 1 and 2. I should be having a subset of this 4th block. So let me create Control Z. So for me to do that, I click on this particular main group and I click on new group. So you can see I'm having 1.1 now. So for me to do that, I'm going to be having external walls. So to create another subgroup for the internal walls, I click on the first one again, create a new group. It's going to be internal walls. Now you remember our internal walls is in 2. We have 150 and 230. So I will understand that. So for me to now go and do my quantity takeoff, let me come to let me say I'm using, okay, let's use 5th floor, 6th floor, sorry. So click on open this, go to your walls, expand. Now you can see I'll be using so now this is 150 walls and 230 walls and 100 walls. So for me to know that, I know that all these 150 230 here are and 100 here are internal walls. So it's allowed for me to just click on this item here and right click on it. So go to a workbook here. Go to your workbook here, right click on this. You say go to quantification, take off to internal walls. Obviously, take off to internal walls. So I click on take off to internal walls. Automatically, all my block on that particular floor has been taken care of. These are all, let me expand this. These are all the walls for that particular floor, and I can see the total quantity there. The total quantity of that particular wall is 157.403 square meters for my walls. And we need to understand that the walls generated here doors and openings has been excluded. There's no need for any deduction again because this is a model. It's not a line measurement. All walls, doors, and windows and openings have been excluded. Now that is now about internal walls. Let's do for that is the internal walls for 150. Let's do internal walls for 230 again. Click on this, exports, and take quantification to internal walls again. This is your 230 walls. You can see 230 internal walls. Everything is about 432 square meters for that particular floor alone. Okay, the next one is 100. Click on this. Quantification internal walls. You can see same thing. The internal wall is just one item, which is about 3.36 square meters. That is that about that. So external walls now, sorry. External wall, which is this, you right click. You're going to right click, quantification, take off to external walls. Everything about your external walls is just the external wall is just about 6.25. And if you check the floor plan, this building is covered by cladding. The external wall is not much. That's why you're just saying 6.65 there. So, but now imagine I'm having this is about 8 floors. I can't be doing everything one by one by one by one by one. It's kind of tedious. So let's say I want to take off all my block work at once. I want to do all my block work at once instead of doing everything. Let me delete everything here. Please, are we together before I move on? Are we together? I just want to know if I'm kind of way along.
Yes, yes, we are
Yeah,
together.
we are following you. We are following you.
Continue, we are together.
Thank you. So let me delete every element here. Let me delete every element. Go to my item catalog, delete every element. Yes. Okay. So now I want to do all my block work at once. I don't want to be doing everything one. I don't want to waste time. I'm meant to save time, not to waste time. So let me just say create all these ones. Block wall. Create external internal. External walls. Internal walls. Okay. Okay. So now I want to take all my external walls at once. Click on one exterior 230 mm wall. You now have to come to this select button here. You have to click on it. You can see select same name. So when you click on select same name, every other 230 walls has been selected automatically. Every other 230 mm has been selected in this particular building automatically. Do you see? So just for me to what? Click on one of them. Qualifications, take off to external walls. These are all the external walls in this building. Okay, let me go to internal walls. So now my internal walls now, let me go to now my internal walls. I have 230, I have 150, and I think I have 100 somewhere. Okay, yeah, let me use. So I have 150, I have 230, I can't be clicking everything one by one. So the advisable thing to do, click on one, hold down your control key, click on the next one, on the next interior walls, go to the next interior walls, click on it. So at least I know that there are 3 types of interior walls here, 150, 230, and 100. And instead of me clicking one by one or doing it floor by floor, I can say, okay, select all the 150, 230 internal walls and 100 for me. Select same. So I've been able to select every item in this particular project. You can see there's nothing that won't be that won't be 150 that was selected. All the block wise 100, 150, and 230, which is interior has been selected. So right click on one of them, quantifications, and take to internal walls. So you can see it's loading because it is much. The internal walls is much. So you can see this is all the internal walls in this particular building. So for me to now see, okay, what is the total internal square meters now? You can see. Let me expand this. Let me expand it. So this is the breakdown. This is like the breakdown. You can see we have 4 breakdown structures. You have block one, which is 1, external, which is 1.1, internal, which is 1.2. So the fourth one is now one. Let's say this one is now 1.2.2.18, 1.2.2.20, just like that. You can say 1.2.3. This means that this is another floor. You get. So now I can easily say that okay, all my the breakdown for all my floors. This is for this interior 150 floor for first floor for one of the floors is about 157, 452. So all these ones we can easily export to Excel and take off to our bill of quantities. That's that about block work. So you can see that, and the beautiful thing about this is that everything as regarding your openings, everything as regarding your deductions, it has been done. Let's say, for example, you have done a lot of calculations and you want to now know it has helped me a lot in the office. You want to now know, okay, what have I even taken off for? What have I not taken off for? Because this is still a 3D, I'm not even saying anything. Okay, let me say, okay, what have I even taken off for? Show, you can see hide and show take off. Okay, let me see. I want to show take off, show what I've taken off for. So automatically this shows that this is the only thing that you have done the take off in this particular project. That is just the block all alone. Just get now. Let me say if I'm hiding my takeoff, if I hide takeoff, automatically if I this building it's exclusive of block wall. So but the beautiful thing about, let's show you what I have taken off. So this is what we have done the takeoff for, and we can easily export this to Excel. Okay, before I move on to the structural element, do you have any questions for this? Hello. Okay.
I-
We can hear you.
Hello.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What of
I'm
the
listening.
what of the lintels, concrete lintels, lintel and this thing? Are they deducted from the block work?
Yes, everything is being deducted. Every openings that you can think of is being deducted. All these openings like this, let's say this, look at these openings, everything like this is being deducted. Every opening, doors, everything has been deducted.
No, I'm talking of the concrete work, lintels, and what do you call it, attached beams, like on top of the walls.
And when you see what beam is going to be concrete element is going to be in a structural model, which we are going to be looking now.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Okay, so can we move on to the next class now?
Hello, Mr. Online. Can you export what you have done to Excel? Let's see before you go to structural element.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to do that in my. I think I will do that in the structural element, since I'm going to be creating resources here and so I think I should do that in structural elements. Alyssa.
Yeah, I wanted you to do it on this one you have done. Let's go step by step.
Okay, let's say, for example, you want to now see everything you've done. You have to come to export quantities to Excel. Now, for example, let's say I want to export only my external walls to Excel. I can click on selected, export selected quantities. What I want to click on, if I want to do all my block walls to Excel, you just want to come here, export quantities to Excel. So it will ask me where I want to save it. Let me just save it on desktop. Okay, it's asking me to open it. Let me open it. Okay. Can you all see my Excel screen now? Hello?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. Can we all see it now? Can we all see my Excel screen now?
Okay, yes.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So now, when you have this Excel screen, it should bring you a lot of data. Now, this is about 61 data for this particular sheet. and you have all data there. You have resource row is you have nothing in this resource row. Resource row is where you are going to be having maybe your form work, your any formatted table you have done. It will come here. Item row, you might not really need it. What I advise whenever I'm doing training is that the only important sheet I use here, it is majorly the group raw, because what this shows me the summary of everything. It shows me the summary of everything. So let's say, for example, I just want to get all my external words, just for me to come sort here, external words, and I can easily come or get my area on. So my total area for external walls, it is about 1,530.11 square meters, which is my area. Same thing I can do for my internal walls. Let's say I want to get my summary of internal walls. Come here, filter. So now you know your internal walls is based into difference 100, 150, and 230. So you can filter here. You can come to filter here, filter by 100. Okay. There's a filter by 100 here. List all your 100 here, filter them by 100. I like them. So so automatically, this filter. Okay, so these are all your 100 mm is about 27 square meters. Automatically, you can easily put that in your bill of quantity. Let's say 230. All my 230 wall is about 4,077.49 square meters. So you can easily take these quantities to your to your bills. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. Do you all understand this step?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So the next one we are going to be looking at now is the structural model. Now, this is the structural model for same projects. This is a structural model for same projects. And we need to understand, okay, for this structure, the first and foremost thing you need to check whenever you receive model to understand it is to check your selection tree. So let me open my selection tree. I can see my basement 2, basement 1, side, ground floor, mezzanine, first floor to the 8th and to the roof floor. Now, and you can see, let's say, for example, I'm opening my 3rd floor now. So under my 3rd floor here, I can see my 3rd floor. I can see my structural columns here. And let me see my 4th floor. Now, when you see floor, floor is a slab. When you have column is normal column. When you have structural framings are beams. As you can see, as I clicked on it, the beams are being highlighted here. So the beautiful thing about this model is that everything was being breakdown and everything was being discussed even before going to site. Let me open one of my beams here now. You have concrete, you have rectangular concrete, if you have rectangular beam here, and these are the various sizes of beams. These are the various sizes of beams. These are the 230 by 700, 230 by 700. So another important thing we need to understand that we know that in doing the line measurements, most of what we traditional way of doing things, when we don't really consider, because it is minute though, all those and the point of intersection between columns, beams, we don't really consider it. We take it as minute. But when you talk about digital or digital construction, it's more of giving you an exact. Let's say, for example, I want to see
the line is breaking here, please.
Oh, is it breaking for everyone?
No, it was an interruption from Olorunyomi, but I think the person has muted himself. Can continue.
But I think Olorunyomi can increase his volume a bit, please. You can increase the volume of his mic.
Okay, can we hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Yes, there is an improvement.
Okay. Now, where I am is I'm talking about the breakdown of the framings, where we have 600 by 750, 450 by 1 meter beam. These are the breakdown of all my framings, and I can easily group them by sizes. But we know by when we are doing our bill of quantity, we lump all of them together. But when we're talking about formwork, there's a need for us to understand how the construction methodology is going to be done. And I mentioned something earlier on that we know that in the traditional way of doing quantities, we don't usually consider the intersections of beams and columns because of is negligible, which is okay according to rules. But when you're talking about digital construction, all these has been deducted and taken care of. For example, let me just hide on selected. Now, look at this now. You can see this is a part. This is a part of a column. These are parts of a column, and is not added to the concrete element of this beam. These are parts for a column. So this is more of giving you the exact accurate quantity of every model element. Are we together? So it's giving you exact quantity. So let's say, for example, I want to take off for my beam. There's no magic. I just need to follow me on idle. There's no magic. I just need to follow the basic thing I did earlier when I was in my block wall. You come to your quantifications. Okay. Load. So you come to your quantifications. You set up your project again. So I will assume you are using none. Next, metric measurement. Next, show metric at the end. Next, and finish. We set up our project like that. So let me quickly run a takeoff for my beams on the fourth floor. Just for me to come here, my item catalog, create. Let me see, fourth floor beams. Fourth floor beams. Okay, just right click, quantifications, take off to fourth floor beams. So you can see and we all
It seems he's been logged out. Wow. Okay.
Okay. So like I was saying, we all know that concrete is more of a concrete element, reinforcement, and formwork. So this is a concrete which I have just done here, and we can easily do for one element, and we can easily do for all the beams with just one click, just by selecting same all beams and selecting same all beams. Okay, wait, can you hear me? Hello, all.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, because I'm saying on the group chats. Okay, yeah. Because I'm just trying to follow up on the group on the chats as well to carry everybody along. Okay. So like I said,
It's breaking. Your voice is breaking.
is it better now?
Yeah, it's better
Even
now.
better, you can continue.
Oh, okay. Now, like I was saying, this is the concrete itself. Now, let's say I want to add my formwork to this particular concrete elements which I've done. Just for me to come to my resource catalog here. come to my new group, and I'll click on, I will call that group a form work. I'll click on that group, which is going to be form work. Okay, so after doing that, I need to, okay, let me click on expand this. Understand that, okay, these are the particular concrete elements in that floor. So what you just need to do, come to new resource. So whatever resources you are clicking, it is similar to please, Mr. Esther, please mute your mic. Okay. Okay, so we are going to be understand that, okay, this should be in line with the size of, should be in line with our resource here. So what I just do here, copy the name of this particular resource here, Control V, copy the name and choose, come here to where you can format your formulas here. You can see you have length, which is the model length. Model length is exactly as same thing as as what is in view, as what is the model. I have width, I have thickness, and I have perimeter, and I have area. Now we all know that formwork is more of an area, is area. So we just need to we just need to adjust this formula here. So how do we do that? Click on that particular cell. Since we are doing for formwork towards to a beam which is of this size, we all know that 650 is the width of the beam, 750 is the height of the beam, and you know that for to get a form of this particular beam is going to be the two sides and the surface. So for the two sides is going to be the model length by the side, and model width by the side times 2, and the model width by the side and the model width just like that without multiplying by 2. So we have to put that in our formula here. So this is going to be model. I need to be careful here because if your spellings are not correct, you might be having a red button here. So let's say model length times 0.
Please, I can't hear you again.
Please, Giwezola, Emi, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hello.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was trying to get to the person that the mic was on.
Okay, no problem. It's fine, ma. Okay, as I was saying, we're going to be doing, okay, this is the model length times 0.65 times 2 plus, it's going to be the next, it's going to be model width, model length again, sorry, LE GTH times 0.75. Okay, let's look at our formulas, because if it is wrong, it's going to be in red. That means it's not proper. Let's put our parentheses as our brackets as it should be. Okay, it's still, let's check our okay. Yeah, see, when one L is missing, that's why it's giving me red. But if it is correct, you're going to be seeing blue. So these are how we are going to be doing for different sizes of our beams. These are going to be doing for different sizes of the beam. So automatically, if I've done for this, there is no need for me to repeat for all the same size again. Just do for one, and it will take care of for everything. So let me now apply this particular form work resource into my models. So how do I do that? Come to that item catalog, click on this particular beams, use resource. We have already created a new resource before, so you can use the existing master resources. So come to form work, expand what you have before. That's why you have, like I mentioned, the name should be same thing in order for you not to get confused during your measurements. So click on this, use an item, click on done. That has been applied. Come to your quantifications. You can see this is 650 by 750 here. Come to the area here. For that particular beam, your area is about 151 square meters for the formwork. So you need to understand that when you see in a spanner sign here, it is resources, and it now depends on what you have applied. It can be concrete, it can be reinforcement. Is majorly I've majorly used this for formwork because I can easily cut my if my for my own practice, if reinforcement schedule is not given, I can just use directly. Or if it's given, I follow what is in the reinforcement schedules. But for this, you can easily see that okay, I can easily get my concrete and formwork for this particular beam. So this is similar to what we did earlier on. We can do this also for all the beams and all the columns with just a few clicks. And when we do this, we can export to Excel like I did earlier on. Export quantities to Excel. Let me export quantities to Excel. Okay, let me share the new screen now. So you can see now the group raw, it is just the concrete on that 4th floor beams, which I can just over on it and say that okay, I'm having 47.875 cubic content, and these are these various sizes of beams on that particular floor. And now where is my formwork? My formwork is going to be on the resource raw here. So this is my formwork, which is going to be on the resource. So I can easily see that okay, my area of a formwork, it is where's my area? My area for formwork is going to be 151 square meters for that particular type of beams. Are we together? Yeah, see, this is just for 650 by 750 beams. Are we together, please?
Yes.
Okay. From the group, I saw that a certain formula is for formwork only. Like I said earlier on, it's not basically for formwork only. Depending on what you want to get, you might need to get for reinforcement, you might need to get for other elements. Just when you understand a basic understanding of all of us, we have a basic understanding of quantity takeoff. We can easily tweak our formulas to give us whatever we want because it's more of garbage in and cabbage outs. Okay. Okay. That is that about getting your quantities in Naviswork and extracting your quantities. So where this software is very powerful, it's more of doing everything at just with click. Because trust me, if I'm to do this if I'm to do the structural work for this model, for this particular model, at least traditionally, I could be looking at least 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, like that, depending on how prepared the document is. But with just a click here now, if I want to get all my beams, let's say I want to get all my beams, just come to item catalog. Let me collapse this. Let me see. I want to get all my columns. Let me use columns this time around. Columns, all columns. Let's see, all columns. All columns. I also need to come to structural columns. Click on one of the structural columns. Click on select same. Click on select same name. You can see all the columns in this building as have been selected, and you can see it is being highlighted in this module. So just want to come to one of them, right click, quantifications to take off to all columns. You can see all the structural columns has been generated. I export my quantity and export to Excel and get my quantities take off to my bill of quantity. Does that make sense to us?
Yes, you can go on, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that basically about quantity takeoff in Navisworks. So as you can see, the breakdown is very, very paramount, which we need to understand more. It is not, I always tell people, you can't get everything at once, but when you understand the basic, you can build on it. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to the next part, which is clash detection, which is clash detection of okay. Does it take care of reinforcement as well? Yeah, yes, like I said, all majorly we if you have a model for a reinforcement, it's possible, but it's very rare, because in this part of the world it's still very rare. But when you have a models for it for like that, you can just get the total length of your bars according to length can be gotten, because the software is going to be breaking it down to you in different diameters, either 10 mm, 12 mm, 16 mm, the like. So since it's able to break it down for you, you can easily generate your quantities for reinforcement if you are not given a reinforcement schedule. Okay, I think that is fine, Mr. Chukebuka. Okay. So next, we'll be looking at some clash detections. And like I said earlier on, what is the essence of clash detections? Essence of clash detection is just for you to minimize what the work on site, minimize variation on site. And we all know when variation comes in, cost and time is being weighted on site. Okay, my question, okay, can I answer the question? My question is, in a traditional model, some structural DWG don't come with reinforcement schedule, coupled with a messy so-called structural engineers skills at to, yeah, that is the industry, how I put it, industry standard for now, but we just need to try to not let all those one limit us and work with what we have. QA that to take over the experience to the consistent. So there's such like I said earlier on, if you have a model for it, it will give you the exact quantities is going to be generated for you. But it is for now structural and structural, mechanical, and architectural drawing is just being a major concern in the industry. So building a reinforcement drawings for now, I won't lie to you, I don't know about that. It's about structural engineering, but when you have it, it is possible, because since it is a model, it's a 3D model which you can have a feel of. Navisworks can easily trash it out for you. When there is anything you have that is in a 3D format, Navisworks can trash the quantities out for you. Okay. So like I mentioned earlier on, I was talking about clash detections. Okay, now I've mentioned the essence of clash detections and why we need to understand how to do it. And clashes usually come between majorly the MEP and the structurals. So for this particular sessions, we are going to be using MEP for same projects. We're going to be using MEP structural and MEP for electrical and MEP for mechanical, just for us to have a brief understanding of how the clashes work and how we can export and report clashes. In essence, you can take off for, yes, thank you. Okay, so let me open another models for clash detection. Okay, I'm going to be opening an electrical model now. Yeah, I'm here. I'm trying to open my.
I hope you are rounding up, because we are. I think
yes. 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 I'm rounding up. I just want to show the clash aspect of it. I'm rounding up, ma. Okay, I'm sharing a new screen now. Please can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Oh, maybe is it network?
Okay.
Okay, it's up now. Okay,
Yes.
basically, so this is the this is the electrical drawings, electrical model for that particular for that same project. Now, this electrical model, I've done the quantification takeoff, which I can just easily show off now. Show okay, I think it's coming up. Okay, so you can see this is this is the breakdown of all the electrical takeover, and which you can see we're not talking about that now. We're talking about clash detection. So for clash detection now, you click on clash detective here, and whenever you need to understand that when you're running your clash detection, it should be on two different model elements. You can't be running clash on same items. So for me to bring in new elements now, I need to come to append. So when you come to append here, I've already imported electrical. So let me look at this is my mechanical models now, which I need to append now. Click on mechanical, append. So it's loading. As you can see, mechanical element has been uploaded on same view. So without wasting much time, there's something they call beam coordination. Beam coordination is by ensuring that this model element, both the electrical, mechanical, and the structure are starting on same origin. Because if they are not starting on the same origin, you are going to be having issues of a wrong clashes, false clash. So for you to check all those things, you just need to come to this, click on each of the elements, come to unit and transform, and check the origin here. Ensure that everything is starting on same origin. So let me check this. Check this. Same origin, same thing. Everything will be same thing. I guess because I've worked on it before. Oh, sorry. Same origin. Okay, so that's one thing you need to ensure when you are doing your clash detection. So for me to move on now, come to clash detective. There are rules for this clash detective which you need to understand. So without wasting much time, click on add text. So what am I testing? I'm testing electrical and mechanical. Elect versus mechanical. You can click on that. Okay, is there a question on the chat board? In the essence, you can only take off. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so like I'm saying earlier on, I'm creating electrical versus mechanical clashes just to know if there's any pipe running through in the wrong directions. So this is the first part, first selection. A is going to be your first element, selection B is going to be your second element. I want you to understand that for this software allow for about three to four different type of clash. We have add clash, add conservative, and clearance. We have clearance and duplicate. Add is more of, as name implies, two elements clashing together. Is similar to conservative. Clearance is more of, okay, when you're having equipment to know, okay, and the allowances for each various equipment in a particular room. Clearance test can run that for you. Duplicate test can be run probably because there are some times that designers can do some mistakes too, because it has happened to me too. When you run a model element, you understand that they are sent to they are elements with same ID on same particular place. So when you run duplicate test, you can easily know wherever you have double counted, which is not supposed to be. So all those things you need to run that. And you need to understand that duplicate tests can be run on same model elements. But when you are running clash detection on different elements, you need to upload two different models. So without wasting much time, let me run all the electrical versus all the mechanical here. This is electrical, this is electrical, this is electrical. I click on one, hold down your shift key, and click on the rest. This is hold on your shift key, click on all the mechanical. So click on all the mechanical. So we need to ensure that your rules are set. This is okay. Sorry, these are your rules are set. Now clearance, tolerance. Tolerance is more of sensitivity. How well do you want to allow your sensitivity to be how well do you want to allow your sensitivity to be? I always say this comes in when you are building your beam execution plan. From my own level of experience, I've been able to understand, okay, this is the kind of tolerance I should allow for a particular model. And when you have your own software, the tolerance level might not be 0.5, might be 0.1 or so, but let's just use what we have here just to go on. So when you have set all those things, you have to just click on your run your first. So now, when as you're saying this, there is no clashes on this particular models. There is no clash on this particular model because it is well coordinated. But let me now, okay, you saw how much time. If it were I'm running electrical, let's say electrical versus how I put it, versus structural. There is no clash on this particular model. There is no clash because it is well coordinated. But just imagine it wasn't coordinated from the onset. Let's say I'm doing this transform. Let me say I'm doing rotation. Let me say 1 degree. Let me say it is 1 degree like this. Okay, let me run my clash again. I change tolerance to 1. Okay. 1 degree is a bit because it's mechanical. 1 degree is a bit. Let me check this. Let me say 20 degree. Oh, sorry. Let me try this again. Oh, what's this? Something here. Come in. Oh, there's a problem with this. Was what I was expecting. Come in. This has been worked on before, maybe because that's why. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, so this has been worked on. That was why I had to change everything. So what I'm trying to say here, you can see we when I was setting it, I didn't set the rules here. That was why I was not able to get things through. So now this is a clash here. You can see I'm having 7 clashes here. This is what elements is this? This is how do I put it? Okay, select. Select. Now this is this is a pipe. I can see this is a plumbing fixture. This is a hose pipe which is clashing with a luminance, a surface luminance. Whatever I'm clicking here, it is shown on the selection tree. Same thing, you can check these clashes again. You can check other different information about the clashes. So now let's say how can you now assign, for example, and the clashes should be rectified by the mechanical engineer. How can you assign all those clashes? Remember, we are working collaboratively here. How can you assign all those clashes? You just need to type the engineer's name, maybe engineer Tunde, and describe whatever you as a beam coordinator, describe whatever you want to send to you want to resolve on it, and what click on OK. You can do same thing on with all the clashes. So when you are done with all these ones, how can you now send a report, have a report of all your clashes? Just come here. In writing your reports, you can easily convert to XML, HTML tabular, and text, but I advise to be HTML tabular, so it's going to be in a web format. So when you click on your write report, it's going to show you where to save it to, and you can easily save it to, let me say, desktop. Can you save it to desktop test3 and okay. Okay, so let me go to where it is saved, and I'm just trying to round up here, please. Okay, so this how it is being, this is how the test report is going to look like. This is how the test report is going to look like. Different clashes, and this is the one that I assigned to engineer Tunde, and whatever information that you need to set that he needs to look at, to this is easy to look at, this is going to be able to see it. And the beautiful thing about it is that he can easily see what element is clashing with each other. But this element too, it is a wood funnel. This is a pipe. This is a pipe which is clashing with a cable tray fittings here. So understandable that this is what he needs to look at. And how can he trace those clashes? He can trace those clashes with these clash points, and for him to see, okay, this is where I need to go through for my to rectify my idea. So the basic thing about the clash detection is just helping professionals, AEC professionals, to reduce rework on site, like I said earlier on, and this can be done collaboratively since it is on a web platform. So I feel I think with this little demonstration, I feel if you have any question, can you just straight up to me so that I can quickly answer before the next speaker comes up? Okay.
Please, can we drop our question in the chat box, please?
Okay, Mr. Chikebuka says, by saying clash, it means okay. All right, yes. Yes, it is. Okay, how will we know if there are clashes? How can you know if there are clashes? It is when you have informations like this on your models. When you have pictures on either items on either red or green on your model, that's when you can see that okay, you have clashes. But if there are no clashes, you are going to see, for example, the one we did earlier on, which is this is it. The one we did earlier on, you can see we have 0 clashes here. We have 0 clashes on this one, but the one we did the last one was 7 clashes, where you can see that there are 7 number of clashes. And the another thing is that there are some clashes that you might want to just neglect. How can you neglect all those clashes? Just come to and approve it. Maybe there are false clashes. You can easily approve it, and when you approve it, the total number of approved will be 1 year. The total number of new clashes will be 6 years. Do you all get it? Is there any question? Is there any other question, please? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I wanted to find out. Hello, can I go on?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think it is good for the classes to be resolved first before the taking off? Otherwise, if they are resolved after taking off, it might have a negative impact on what has been done.
Yeah, that's why before the 5D analysis is being done, BIM coordination must have been done. This clashes is a process of BIM coordination. It's a process of coordination during the inception period of project. It's a process of coordination before it is being issued to the cost managers to work. It is advisable for the clashes to be done first.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay,
is there any question, please?
My question is for electrical piping in wall. Can we call that a clash? Electrical piping in wall. For things like that, if you are, that's why I say something called false clashes or true clashes. If it is being run, maybe you are running electrical and architecture, and it is passing through a wall, which is supposed not. But if it's supposed not, it should pass through a dot. But if is allowable in the world by the structural engineer. When you highlight that, after assigning your own clashes to the structural mechanical engineer, he can easily say that, okay, this can work, this can work. That's when you can actually approve those clashes. Do we get that? Is that clear, Mr. Matthew? Okay, I think, okay, thank you. Is there any other question, please?
I think you can just wrap up now. If there is any other question, you are still around and I'm sure you can pick it up and answer.
Okay.
Okay, there is a question just now.
Okay, can we encounter a clash in a structural part like column position where, yes, that is what I'm saying. You are going to be running, if you're running architectural and structural, if all those things, if there is a clash there, that's when you can note it out. You can run clashes between any model, any two different model elements, as long as you understand that. Okay, thank you. Now, like I was saying, you can run clashes as long as it is same model projects, and you understand that you have coordinate your model to be on same origin. Because if it's not on same origin, just like we did earlier on that you have the 7 clashes, if it's not on same origin, you need to you might be having unnecessary clashes like 1,000 and something clashes, which you are going to be thinking that you are right and not knowing that you didn't do your coordination first before clash detection. So it's advisable to do all those things first. So you can run clashes between architectural and structural to understand if you see a column is passing through a wall, if a column is passing through a window, you can easily note that out. As we all know, I feel we surveyor, we should not just be limiting ourselves to quantities alone. We should try to expand more in this digital world because there are a lot of opportunities for us as well. Yes, taking off the comments after the test, right? Yes, but you understand that if you are doing taking off, you shouldn't be doing it in isolation. You should always carry is more of a collaborative working now. We shouldn't be doing it in isolation. Carry every professionals in that particular project along. Okay, if there is no other questions, I'll just try to wrap up what we've been talking for the beginning of this class. We looked at understanding the different ribbon of part of Navisworks. Navisworks is done by Autodesk, and we try to understand that, okay, in Navisworks we can run quantifications, we can run class detection, we can run 4D simulations, and we also try to use the architectural models to run the block work, and we're able to group our work breakdown structures in the external, internal walls, and we're able to understand that, okay, we can easily take off for each floor by floor, and we can easily take off all our quantity at once, and we're able to understand how to export to Excel, and we're able to understand, okay, how we can easily get our quantities out for Excel into our view, and we're able to let ourselves know that this software, it doesn't prepare builds directly because there are different build templates outside. The major thing is about quantities, which you can defend anywhere. Anybody can defend its rates, but quantities should be the same thing. As regarding as there's a trend, there's a model. So we understand that, okay, quantities should be correct and accurate, and how we can export our quantities to Excel, and we did that. I also looked at Navisworks structural drawings, structural models, how we're able to take off our beams either in isolation or in a group at once, and we're able to take off all our columns, and we're able to apply resources. And remember, applying resources is more of formwork, formatting your takeoff, for example, formwork or reinforcement, whatever you want to do. We also looked at that, and also we now look at clash detection, and we understand that clash detection is about four types: add conservative, duplicate, and conservative, and clearance. And so we're able to understand that, and we're able to understand, okay, how we can assign clashes to different professionals that is responsible to take care of that. And okay, we're able to look at how we can export our clashes and see it in the web versions, and everybody can easily go back to and look. With this little demonstration, I'm done with my presentation. I really thank everyone for listening. And if you have any other thing, if you have any other questions, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or like me Utsman. You can, if you need more further training or in-depth training, we do organize monthly training and quarterly training. We completed one just last month. So just you can reach out to me and we can discuss more on any other trainings you want to look at. Thank you for having me. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, QSO Olayemi Usman. We appreciate you, and to our participants is also on the WhatsApp group. So even after the training, if you have any issues, just drop it there and they will attend to it. So we welcome QS Chijoke Wagbu now for his own practical session. QS Chijoke. QS Stanley, is he here?
He's still connecting. Just a moment, please.
Okay. So, and they're asking when they'll get this particular software for them to download.
Yes, I posted it on the chat that the.
Please bear with us. QS Chijoke is having some challenges, but very soon we'll connect. Please bear with us. Thank you.
Can we use the opportunity to have more interactive time? If anybody has a question, you can raise up your hand to ask the question, or if there is anything that you, QS Olayemi Usman is still with us. And
okay,
and Dr.
I have dropped the LinkedIn link on the chat. You can do it to reach out. So if let me just use the opportunity to ask, is there anything we see that these softwares is still confusing? You can just let me know so that I can still go over it again before QS Chijoke comes up.
Okay. For decorum's sake, if you have any other challenges, can you raise up your hand so that you'll be asked to unmute? Okay, QS Matthew, you can unmute.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. I really enjoyed the presentation. I know this is just more for me like an introduction. I know we still have to go over it and then get to practice and know much about it. But the challenge I'm still having is still on the area of specification. I tell you, because it's aside from the quantities, the specifications, the brand, the nature of the material, all of these things really go a long way for us when it comes to building rates. You understand? And I know from the Revit class we had, we also given that idea that each type of element that forms any of these building parts, components, has its own specification, and sometimes IS code and all manner of things. So all of these things, there's a way we just have to get adequate information into it in order to at least help us to build rates. Because look at the design you showed us that we worked on, and I'm sure there are so many things that will go into it. Possibly the designer might be looking at a green building, all manner of the kind, all of these things. I don't know, how do we now bring it into our workspace when it comes to preparation of the bill, so that we can adequately capture every cost item, you understand, on it. That's where I'm not clear. I know this is about extract of quantities and schedule, so that it can help us, give us the right quantity, but how do we fit that into into what our rates build up?
Okay, thank you, Matthew. I'm sure that you'll get your answer. I just want to join my own voice to what he's saying, because immediately I saw that model drawing and the model that you showed us, that you used for the practical, and I saw that cladding in front, the cladding, and I was like, are there going to be specification on this thing to let us know what kind of material was used for the cladding? So I think that is what Matthew is trying to say, that how do we get the specification and marry it using the software?
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. I understand what Matthew is talking about. If you remember, when I was doing the demonstration, I mentioned something about properties. Yeah, so it is that properties that you can see whatever the architects are specified in the specifications. So one of the properties, if you are looking at it, because the specification on each element might be like a 20 columns, which involves different things. Like for example, that cladding, you might be having the color, you might be having the name, the manufacturer, you might be having the location on that particular on each particular panels. So if the best thing that we do is that click on each of the elements and click on any of the elements. For example, if it's the cladding, and go to the properties bar and check any specifications that the architect has put there for you. So, but you can't really export quantifications specifications. You can easily see that in your property bar in your models. Does that make sense to you, please? Or is there something that you still feel it's not clear from my explanation?
It made sense, sir. If it's to view, it's not an issue. If we can get that, because I tell you, it's a very, very critical
Yeah,
information.
you can get that on the model as well, because when you go to your properties on your models, you can easily see that.
Okay, all right, sir.
You're not still confused. You're also convinced, I mean, right?
Well, let's get our hands on it anyway.
Okay, yeah, that's the best thing. Yeah.
At least it will also we'll learn from there also. And if it's also to look for a way to also have a specification sheet, and if we can get a kind of a central point that can tell me that this specification is for this particular item, that at least it will also do fine, because when you are building rates. And because as a quant surveyor, I tell you, we've experienced so many challenges. Like I asked a question about structure. I've seen so many structural drawing that are not even, you can't call it structural drawing. You understand? But since this one is a model, it's assumed that everything has been, duly incorporated. We will look from the property and then see how to marry it into what we want to look for. It is, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. I just feel that with more practice and putting in our own thing, this thing will get better. That's just my thoughts. Does Anastasia have something to say? Because our mic has just been going in and out of, we've been hearing different voices. So do you have, Anastasia Badmos, do you have something to say?
Hello.
Please keep your mic mute. Thank you. Is that QST joke, sir?
Yes, madam.
You're welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Yeah, I most sincerely apologize for this this delay. It's actually because of a technical glitch that I'm experiencing here. And I'm sure all of us understand that's one of the things that we face when we are trusting so much on technology. It's bound to happen. Anyway, I also want to appreciate QS Usman for the extent of exposition that he has given us on the rudiments and what is expected or what is done in Navisworks. So far, he has touched almost all aspects of Navisworks. But what I want to dwell more on is on workflow. As quantity surveyors, how do we utilize these applications? for quantity surveyors in Nigeria and developing part of Africa, how do we use or leverage on this technology so that we're not left behind like some people were in the early 90s when CAD came up? But they woke up one day and discovered that the world has transcended beyond drawing board to computer-aided designs. So for us now, I also noted some questions that some persons were asking regarding how you're able to confirm the specifications that are there. And you must believe with me, just like QS Usman mentioned, that when you're discussing your BIM execution plan, that is where you outlay some of these things. There is something called level of details. The level of detail will define exactly the information that is available in the model at every stage of the development. When you are developing from ordinary proposed design, schematic design, or what you call massing, to detailed design, there are bound to be additional information and definitions that will be coming on top of the model. And he also pointed to us that there is something called the properties panel. That properties panel can be enabled. Like in my desktop now, you're looking at my view that you're seeing, there is no property panel that is enabled. Even though I have a block wall selected, I cannot be able to query the properties of this wall because the functionality is not enabled. So for you to enable it, which I advise every quantity surveyor, whenever you receive a model or a design, like we do with normal 2D drawings, we query the designs. We take our time, review all the designs, and try to acquaint ourselves with what is there. What is the engineer trying, or the designer trying to communicate? What information has he presented? And what other information do we need to work with that are not available? For example, now, I want to know the quality of the definitions or properties of this word I've just selected. I can just come to my view. Under my view tab, there is a panel called workspace. In the workspace, you should see window. When you click this arrow pointing down on window, you will be able to access all the panels that are available for you on this application, on the interface. He talked last on clash detection. You can actually enable or disable the clash detection panel from here. But the one I'm going to enable now is properties window, which is somewhere here. And it takes just tick the box and the properties window will appear here. As I have the properties window here now, I can expand it. I'm sure he has mentioned it earlier. Expand the properties window now. Now I have full information about this wall that I have here. The wall is an item. Under my item panel, it has its property and value. It has the name, which is basic wall. Now, somebody said, when you are specifying, how do we know, or how are we sure of the extent of specification that was profiled or proposed? The designer is supposed to build in these informations into the model. And when they build such information into the model, the information will appear on this place. But if, peradventure, they did not build them in, but what we have here is the basic Revit properties, then you can always find it under what is called a Revit panel in this environment. All these are different panels that you can use to access. Like now I'm holding my wall. What type of wall is this? I can see the type of wall that it is. I can see the height, I can see the level, I can see what is associated with it, just from looking at it here. I am sure we have been informed since the beginning of this workshop that BIM itself is not just a technology, neither is it just a software. It is both technology, software, and people. It is the collaboration of this thing that forms the database that we're looking at. And when you're looking at a BIM model, you are looking at a database of information aggregated in the form of a model. The extent of information that is available is subject to the BIM execution plan, and is also subject to the level of information that the designers of the model has presented. There are times when the information that is presented is not usable for us as quantity surveyors to use and take off. Example, I have things here that were modeled, these are not elements. Of course, we remember the definition of elements. These are not elements, rather they are models. They were modeled from objects. And when they are modeled from objects and you try to take them off, you will discover that you cannot find some of the basic properties that you expect. Properties like maybe width, length, thickness, and maybe materials. Because the designer fails to include them there when they were exporting. But as a quantity surveyor who uses Navisworks, you should find a way to be able to manipulate the application to still get what you want. Because the informations are there. It only takes a little manipulation for you to be able to extract what exactly you need. So what I will be making presentations here today is just more or less on a workflow, how you can be able to manipulate and query information back and forth and be able to get exactly what you want. To move forward, again, we are trying to see how we can marry technology with what we have available here, because we believe that we are not creating something new anyway. We are rather building on what we have existing around us. And the Institute has given us a very wonderful document, a standard for measurement of works. They came up with ESMM4, Building Engineering Standard Method of Measurement. And we have taken some effort to try to be able to tell us that we can actually adopt that our document into this environment and use it to do our quantifications. And QS Usman also mentioned it that when he was creating items and doing taking off. But for the purpose of what we're going to be presenting now, I will jump the ones that he has touched on and move straight to how we can be able to manipulate it, bringing our own documents into this environment. If you remember very well, the BESMM4 document is organized in such a way that it reflects both construction methodology as well as it reflects more or less construction methodology. So when we reason it that way, we should be able to understand that, yes, what exactly does these people want us to do to be able to implement a catalog and organize it in such a way that it will also reflect the intent and purpose that the designers of that document has, even when we are applying a new modern technology. So for that purpose, I want to preview us, I want to show us what the BESMM4 looks like when you present it in a tabular form and you are preparing it to import it in Navisworks environment. It will look like this. Navisworks requires you to also create one. There are a hierarchy of informations in the BIM model. And that is what the Navisworks actually tries to organize, or what the BIM itself, BIM technology tries to organize. It tries to organize information in such a way that they are not clustered together and confusing. There are a hierarchy of information. And our document also follows the same process. It has been able to present hierarchy of this information according to construction methodology. First, it recognizes that the BESMM document is the highest category that you have. And then you have the 1.2, which talked about offsite manufacture materials. Then you have 1.3, which talked about demolition. And 1.4, which talked about piling. 1.5, which talked about concrete works. Hello, are we together? Okay. So you talked about. So what I'm. Hello, can you mute yourself, please?
Okay, the one. Please just. QS Priscilla, okay, your mic is on, please.
Okay. So when we have all of these informations now, if you just need to organize them in the way that I have organized it here. The coding that we do in BESMM4 is what I've presented here like this. And the group is what I've presented like this. When you have item like 1.2, 1.2 is a group. 1.20 is also a group because there are small child items under them until you get to the item itself, which you're going to be taking up, which is what is called as an item. And then of course we have the name of it, which is a roof. And then we have the name of it, which is roof over dimension, so. Now, to demonstrate that, I have gone ahead to prepare that catalog. So let me now import it. To import the catalog, so to import the catalog, I just have to come here, just like he has demonstrated. These are already predetermined catalog that we have. If you don't know, you're not able to manipulate it the way I presented it to you before, you can still go ahead and group them and arrange them here, just like I'm going to be doing now. I use none and I move next. And I choose the standard I'm going to be using, the unit, and I conclude. Now I have created my document here, my quantification document project here. If I come down to my item catalog, forgive me. So let me enable my item catalog and the rest of them so that we'll be able to see them very well. Here's my item catalog. And then also enable my resource catalog, even though I may not be touching more about the resource catalog. So yes. So I have my item catalog enabled now. If I come down under my item catalog, and we want to talk about that which I presented before, off-site manufactured goods. The group category will be the off-site manufactured group. The group category will be the BESMM4. BESMM4. Of course. That will be the highest level of the. That will be the highest level, which is 1.0. Now the next group that will be under it will be 1.2. But of course, you know that 1.1 is talking about preliminaries and the rest of them. So I'll just call this one 1.1, even though we are not going to that direction now. Then the next one will be 1.2, which is off-site manufactured products. Then under 1.1, we'll have 1.11, which is a different thing. Maybe I can't like that. I don't really remember exactly what 1.1 is all about. But this is how you can be able to build the hierarchy of the BSMM4 to reflect it the same way it is presented in the document, just like I've shown you here now. The same way it is presented here. This is how you can be able to build it up. You have 1, which is the highest level, the BSMM4, 1.1, which is off-site manufacturing, 1.0, which is the section preambles, 1.0.01, which is this. And should you have any issues trying to code these numbers to form exactly what you want it to be, there are ways you can manipulate them. If you look here, I have the breakdown structure. The breakdown structure you're seeing here is also being reflected here. If I want this thing to be 1.2.0, I can simply come and put 0.0. And it will now be reflected here as 1.2.0. So this is how you can easily manipulate this catalog environment and be able to create it exactly to adapt it to what you want and what you have in mind. Now to move further, I am not going to be using this catalog because I've taken some time to create one that we should use for this demonstration. So I will go ahead to import it now. Come down here under import catalog. It will narrow me down the catalog I have is supposed to be here, but I don't have it here at the moment because this is the destination where all your catalogs are supposed to be resident. And for no reason should you want to move it here because you may not be able to find your way back to this very directory. So what I always do is I will go and copy that catalog, which I already have somewhere, copy it in my Flash, in my clipboard, and go and paste it into that environment so that at every point in time, I can always have access to it. You may not be able to see my screen now, but I'm trying to locate this thing and so that I can copy it and bring it into the environment. Now this is my catalog environment. I will now come and paste. You can now be able to see the BSMN4 catalog, which I've already created. I have it here already. So I can just say open. And it has opened it. Now, because the catalog is already prepared, it comes prepared with all that I have. This is it here. It comes prepared. Let me go under the catalog environment so that I can see it clearly. These are the different categories of work that we have. But what I have here, which for this demonstration is my summary work only, which is item 1.14, like you can see here. The next one is information, which is 1.14.0. And if you check it very well, this is the same hierarchy of information that you have in the BESMN4. Now that you have this catalog and you want to do your taking off, QS Usman has also demonstrated how you can use it to do a simple takeoff. But should it be that I want to take off this wall, and I'm not sure whether this wall actually contains the properties that I want, I can query this wall and say, okay, what's the size of this wall? Will it rhyme in what I have it in mind to take it here for? And what is the level? I know he was talking about using levels to separate works, but this project that I have here is already arranged according to levels. But nonetheless, I can still do what he did, which is come to my home tab, under my selection tree, search and select. I say select same, and then use select same type or same name. When you use select same name, it is looking for the same name that is basic wall. So if for any reason why they were developing and designing this model, the designers did not take consciousness to rename the names accordingly, and they created a concrete wall and they called it basic wall, the application will be ignorant of this error and will go ahead to select it even as a basic wall. So you just have to be careful, search through the properties and choose a property that is unique to the element that you want to take. Now, for example, I have a property that is unique for this element that I want to take. And that is under my type property. I have it as walls, basic walls, 230 blocks. Now, when I choose walls, basic walls, 230 blocks, I can never be wrong because it will only go ahead to select only basic walls, 230 blocks. I will not go to mix it up with maybe a reinforced concrete walls, 230. So this is how it is also very important for you to always try to acquaint yourself with the model that you're working on. Now I have that information already here. I can now come and use what is called search and find. You can see it here. You can see use it here now and to use it and look for exactly the information that we're looking at. At the moment, I don't have it enabled here now, but I can go to my view windows and look for search and find items. And my find item is enabled now. What it simply means is that, look at, this is how you manipulate it. Always remember this item category, the item tab. Item is the property that we want to use, and type is the type of property, the parameter that we want to use. I remember listening to architect engineer QS Ifeanyi when he was making his presentation the first day of this. He mentioned to us of the need of the different levels of information that exists in a BIM model. He talked about items, categories. He talked about families. He talked about parameters. Now you need to understand some of these things. We have an item grouping here, and then under that grouping, we have a type parameter. So it is important that you take this type parameter the same way it is pronounced here or written here and use it and go and do the search. So I will come under my category. The category of item that I'm looking for is item. I'll just come here, click this drop down, choose item. Now the property I want to play with is name, item type. So if you search under this other property, you should be able to see type and you click type. Now, what exactly you want to do with, you want to create a logic that will do it. You want to do that item type that is equal to, now this name, you don't have to type it by yourself to make mistake. You can easily come here, right click on this place and say copy value. And then come down here and paste that value. Control V. Now that value has been placed. Then again, on this side also, because I have two models, that is models that are in this application, you have to make sure that it's the model that contains the element you're looking for that you have active. For now, I have two of them on, but I can actually narrow it down to the architectural model, which is what I'm looking for. And then be careful of these icons that are here, these are checkboxes that are here. If you're not sure that of the capitalization of the word that you have just typed, uncheck match characters. And if you're not sure of the match descriptions, uncheck it. Also, if you're not sure of the match case, uncheck it. Because you can actually be using this search and find, and you'll be having difficulties because these boxes are ticked. So as soon as I run that information now, the application tells me on the property window that I have 32 items that are selected. And when I look now, I see that I have 32 different items that are selected. All of them are 230 block walls. It did not go to select this wall here, which is 150 block wall. Rather, it has selected all my 230 block wall wherever they are, regardless of their location. So once I've done that, I can now come down to my quantification, narrow down to the item that I want to take off. Let's collapse some of these things because they are clustering my view. What I want to work on is on my wall, 230 block wall. Because of the way the description gave it in the BSMN4, that's why I left this gap here. I say dot, dot, dot millimeter. That dot, dot, dot millimeter simply means that you can extend the thickness of the block to any extent that you want. It doesn't have to be the one that I have presented in this catalog that is there. And to manipulate that aspect, just come under your category, item catalog. And I see that thing you have here under that description. You have it under the name and you have it under the description. So I'll simply have to choose this one and say 230 block wall. block wall. Whatever it is that it is you want. Now I have it. When I come back to my quantification, it is no more that it is now 230 mm. Okay, this is the name that is that. I changed only the name, I did not change the item name. 230 mm. When I come back here now, I can be able to see that that amendment, that addition which I just did now. And like he said, simply right click it, come here, say take off to 230 block wall. And all my walls have been taken off. Yes, your wall has been taken off, but what do you do from here? What I do, like I said, I'm only showing workflow. How I manipulate this thing from this moment is, I don't want to focus on all the properties, all the quantities that it has given me. I focus mostly on the ones that I want. Like now, I am having block wall here, quantity of block wall, but I'm being surrounded by informations on height, volume, thickness, and all those things, and they are not necessary for me. And if you remember very well, the BESMN4 requires that you measure block works or masonry works in meter square. So for that, I use this column that is called primary quantity. All the information that are going to be useful for me, that I'm going to be using, I lump them and place them under my primary quantities. The essence of this is that you will not be having to sift through layers of information that are not necessary for you. So for that, I'll come under my item catalog. Now, this is my primary quantity that you have. I have it here. It's empty. So for my primary quantity, I will now say my primary quantity is equal to is equal to area. Why am I saying it's equal to area? If you come down to area and look at what is under area, area is equal to model area. There are times when your area may not be your model area. Like when you want to know the actual area of wall, and maybe you have considered the window or the opening that is on that wall, that is not reasonable enough for you to start making deductions. So on that part, on that reason now, you might choose to be that your area will only be your height times your width, and not necessarily your model area, because the model at every point in time will be extracting openings or deducting openings. So if you don't want the model to be deducting openings for you and you want to be in charge of the openings that will be deducted, you can do it here. Put here under your area, you use area as the same thing as length times height. And in that case, what I am consigned or what I'm using for my calculations is only stored in my primary quantities. So as soon as I did this, primary quantity is equal to area, and that settles it. If for any reason the unit is not selected, you try and select the unit. And then when I come down to my quantity now and go down to that primary quantity, you see that my primary quantity has been populated with my areas. And just like I explained to us now, if for any reason you can mark this word, this first item here, which is 1.73, if we tweak it now again and say, our area is not model area, rather, our area is length times height. And I say enter. When I come back to that model now, try to keep an eye on this one. You see it has not changed from 1.32 that it was, because it has deducted opening, to 2.95. So you just have to be careful and know how to be able to work around some of these angles whenever you want, depending on what exactly it is that you have in mind to approach. Now, I have done some adjustments here. And maybe I come also under this item and I vary it. I vary it. I said this is not 7 point something. It's actually supposed to be 9. The application will flag it up for me that a change has occurred here, which is not recognized in the model. And now it is also the same process that I'm using now to evaluate this thing. The same process that you use to evaluate whenever you have a new additions on the model that you're working with. You just have to consider, once you get the model and insert the model into this environment, on the far right side of this quantification listing, there is something called change analysis. Touch on this change analysis, you say analyze changes. Then the application will flag wherever there are changes. Now it's telling me that there is a change on this place, on this item. Now, and as if you're not careful enough, that change is not considered into the calculation that you have now. You need to allow that change to happen. You need to permit it to happen. And to make that happen, just choose on this one, select all take off. Select all take off. All the take off are now taken off or selected now. You now say, okay, update change. It's not selecting it. It's okay, it's not recognizing it as actually a major change. But there are times when the model itself varies that you may need to update changes. All you need is just come here, select all the takeoff, and update the change, selected items. This trick I just mentioned to us now, people are working around it. You will see somebody will finish taking off, and because there are new changes, he has to start deleting all he has taken off before doing a fresh takeoff, which can be very cumbersome. But the workaround is simple. Select all of them, do the analysis, identify what has.
Sorry, QS Chijoke.
Yes, madam.
Please, I will implore that you look at the chat room because people are saying they are getting lost somehow. So maybe you are too fast. So please maybe QS Stanley can help you to be checking so that we'll be in line with everybody and we are not losing some people along the way. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. They want to. That's what to find extension. Is XML. Yes. All right. Okay. The question on the file extension for the catalog. The file extension for the catalog that you can bring into this environment is XML. The application XML is actually something that is a language that so many applications use to interact. So it's when you now use a Navisworks, there is a dedicated this in that template that they provided for this thing. You use it to export it and convert it to XML. In that XML environment, now you now import it into the Navisworks environment. But one thing I'm promising is that I'll make available that this thing for us to use and play with. I'll make it available at the end of this presentation so that people can have access to it and be able to interact it and play it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm just trying to rush through this model presentation because I know something on model has been done for us so that we can go to 2D takeoff proper. The application has the functionality and ability of doing 2D takeoff. So I just want to fly through this one to mention these aspects before we move on. So I have it now, and I want to do my two-dimensional takeoff. I have taken up some of the walls so far, but there are also some other walls that were not presented here because I can't be able to see them in the model. But eventually, the model I have is not a Navisworks cache file, like an NWC file. But eventually, it is an IFC file. And then you know that an IFC file, you cannot be able to access the inside of the model. You cannot see the inside of the model. So you may have to fall back on a two-dimensional drawing to be able to know what is happening inside of the model. So I will go ahead now to bring in a two-dimensional model of this, the first floor of this project, this model that we're working with now. And to import the model, if you look here on the lower side of your screen here, where I have here, it's called a sheet browser. When I click my sheet browser, it will launch. I can easily say, okay, import a sheet. And then the sheet I want to import is a PDF file. At the moment, it's searching NWC file, so I cannot be able to see another thing other than NWC file. I may just have to enable PDF or at best, say show all, so that I can now be able to see all the files that are here. And I say open the file. It takes some seconds and imports the file. Now, because the file has not been prepared, that's why you have this icon like this. You need to double click on this file to prepare it. And when it is prepared, it will now launch and now be the focus of the application. The center of the desktop will now be showing this, this file that has been prepared. So I have it here. Let me dock this one on this side. This is the same file model that we're working with, but this is what is happening inside. Should it be that you're working with a model that cannot be able to present what is happening inside, like Navisworks can do? Now we can work with this PDF. Okay, there are walls here that we need to take off. And these walls, we're told they are 150, or we're not even sure of what the walls are. But so long as we have a defined dimension, we can scale up to be able to put the drawing on scale. And to do scaling, still come back under your view, come back to view, come down to that workspace, under your window, click window, look for measurements. Set scale by measurement. Check it and it will be active. Now come here and say, okay, this is new measurement. The new measurement I want today is off my screen. The thing it has launched is off my screen. It's launched. There is. Now it has launched my screen, and I have to come and say the dimension I want to use is, I know from this point, this grid to this other grid is about 3 meters. I just have to try and narrow it down, eyeball it as much as I can, down to this point. Now, this dimension is 3,000 millimeter. Like I said, we are talking about workflows. I like my workflow to be on millimeter. Reason being that the application can be able to make small adjustments or corrections within the fractions of millimeter. But if you mount your scale on meters, the fractions of correction that it will be doing may most likely not be significant enough to be able to correct the drawing effectively. So I put it in millimeter, which is 3,000, and I narrow it down to millimeter. That's the unit I'm using. And I go ahead and say, okay. It is telling me that the scale that I have here is at scale 1.60 something. Once I'm done, I say finish. And I can tell you that this application, this sheet that we have here, has been perfectly scaled. And to confirm that, you come under your review tab, because under your review tab, you have access to things that you can use to do review, carry out reviews. Things like maybe make comments, do revision cloud, like want to call out this place. You want to write notes or tag and stuff like that. You find them under your review tab. But what I want to do here now is measure. You find it under your measure ribbon. You see measure here, click measure, and I have measure length. So I want to measure the length from this point to this point. Without even clicking exactly, you can now read that approximately it is reading as 2.282 meters. So because I am using millimeter, that is why the fraction of correction or error is very minimal. So this is it now. So I cannot go ahead and take off this, my 150 walls, which I was not able to take off from the model. To take it off, the catalog that I have prepared does not recognize 150 walls because it is not there at the moment. So you still use the same process. Go over to the item catalog, come here, click the 120 block work, copy 120 block work, go to the group work, which is the wall itself, right click and say paste. And it has pasted that 120 block wall again, but this time around without quantities. So we can now come down under the description and change it to 150. As well as go under the name and change it to 150. When we now exit and come back to our quantification environment, we now have a 150 block work item ready for us to start doing takeoff with. And now, in as much as your desktop, your screen is displayed over a 2D over a sheet, these 2D tools will enable automatically. Now, in the tools, we have the first one, which we use for, which is polyline, rather, forgive me. We have polylines. And under the polyline, we have two possible polylines that we can do. We have rectangular polylines and we have straight line polyline. Then there's also another one that is called a quick line. Quick line is when you have a drawing that is coming from an DWF, that you know that DWF is quite interactive. The application understands that when you're pointing at an element or a line, it knows what that line is. So you can easily use this one, quick line, to pick those ones up without instead of tracing, like we are going to be doing in PDF now. Then the next one is what we call our area line. The area line, there are two area lines. We have the square, rectangular, and the area. both of them are the same thing. We'll just try to use it briefly. Let us now move on now. And then, of course, we have our this one, which is for easily a bucket. You call it bucket, but you can easily, just for easily, when you're working with a DWF, you use it to pick up area quicker than tracing it all. If I am to use this one on my DWF, I'll just come here and click, and it will select all the environments along all the boundaries. There are times when you're doing area measurement, but you need to deduct openings. We use this item, the quick, we call it the quick box, to deduct openings. And of course, we have points and we have the counts that we have to do. So let's demonstrate. We want to take off our wall. And this our wall, we're told, is 150. Before I take that wall off, I want to show us something, because sometimes I like my takeoff to be descriptive. What I mean by that is, if I'm taking off 150 wall, I want my line of weight, the weight of my line, to be 150, so that when I'm looking at it, I am seeing the width also being displayed, the width of the block also being displayed in my takeoff. And that you can manage in this place, line thickness. For now, it is telling us the line thickness that we have for this my wall is 3.932 inches. For obvious reasons, this application was designed in America, and most of the things that it will be telling you here will be in inches. But you yourself, you have the understanding that 6 inches is exactly 150. So we can just come here and put 6 here and go back to where we're coming from. Okay, another thing I would like to change is also the appearance of my wall. I want this wall to appear as red. So I choose red color, so that whenever I take off this my 150 wall, they will be showing as red colors. Now I am ready to start doing my takeoff. I am taking off a line, linear item, so I use line. Narrow down, choose here. And as soon as I select it, you see that it is showing me the width of that my wall. Unlike when I did not set the width of the wall. So this time around, you can easily know when your wall thickness is varied or not. Now it has taken off that wall. By that simple thing that I've just done now, if I go through here, if I go through this environment, I will be able to see that under my linear, I have a linear item, which is 4.389 meters. But when I come to area, there is nothing on my area, which is 0. And when I go to the one that which is my interest, which is my primary quantities, it is also 0. So what is happening? What is happening is that we did not define the height of this wall that we want to take off. And there is need for you to define the height of the wall, because you are working on 2 dimensions. So the third dimension, which is height, is left for you to manipulate. So I come back to my item catalog. Under my item catalog, there is a property that is called height. In the height now, it is telling me that height is coming from model height. And in this case, my model height is 0 because nothing was defined there. So I just have to come here and say my model height is equal to maybe 3 meters. My model height is equal to 3 meters. And then once you are changing it, it is also good for you to change it 3 meters. So the application is now running the calculations. If I now go back to this place, I can now be able to see something on my height. Let me look for height. Now height is 3 meters. Let's go further to area. Now area is now 13.14 meters because it's not taking the 4 point something meters that we had earlier in the linear dimension and multiplying it by the height, which is 3 meters. And the area now becomes 13.16. And if I go further down on my quantities, or my primary quantities, I can now see that I have a quantity here, which is 13.168 meters. This is how you can be able to manipulate and extract information from the model itself, rather. Now, I know that the catalog we have here is block work, but let me just make this assumption that we want to take off something like a tiles for our wall, for our floor finishes. I'm collapsing to create more room for me to see. If we have to take up something like tiles for our floor finishes, and we know that under the BESMM4, finishes is under 1.28, I think so, which is finishes. Finishes. And I cannot remember exactly what wall is on that this thing. I'm not looking at the document, but let me just imagine that the next one that will come on number 1 should be something about floors, floor finishes. And then I want to talk about tiles. I will come down. Remember always, whenever you create a new item for your takeoff, remember always to take the properties or the quantities that you want to use and move them to your primary quantities. And by that, I mean, my primary quantity will be, my interest there is on the area. And of course, area is coming from model area, like you can see here, model area. So I'll now come down here. The unit I'm going to be using is area. Narrow down to your area, your units, which is square meters. And I'm done. Maybe if you want, you can change the color and choose whatever color that appeals to you more. Now I want to do takeoff for this floor, for tile, for this bedroom. This is my master bedroom. Remember, the takeoff you're taking is going to be area. So you'll be using the area to do the takeoff. If you want to take off an environment like this one that is square, you can use the second one, which is rectangular tool. But if you're using the one, if you're taking off an environment that is irregular, you may need to use the one that is area. So which is the one that we'll try first, because this our master room is irregular. We'll start from this point and trace to this point and trace further to this point and trace to this point and trace to this point and trace here and trace here, 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 and close it up here. Now it has taken up that area for me. One thing I need to do is, you see the thickness of this, my edge here is blurry, it's blurring my vision. So I cannot be able to define it and eyeball it exactly where I want it. So to manipulate that one also is coming from under the item catalog, it's coming from the thickness of your line. Reduce it to anything that is small. Sometimes I use one when I'm doing areas. And now it is quite smaller. All right. So this is how you can use that one. So let's quickly do using the other tool, which is this one, rectangular tool. To use that rectangular tool, just click on one edge and then click the opposite edge. And it has taken it off completely. Now, as you look through what you're doing, the quantities are just aggregating for you. And remember, I said my concentration is on my primary quantities, which are accumulating here. Now, okay, there are need for us to also do show how the count items works. So let's just say I create another catalog list item that is on this one is maybe say mechanical works. And mechanical works on the document or the BSMM4 document is on 1.38, which is mechanical work. I just come here and call it 1.38. And there are, of course, automatically 1.38 comes here. Okay, I did not even change this one to 1.28. 1.228. Finishes is 1.28. And mechanical work is 1.38. So as I have just done it now, I'll just go ahead and create the next item. Maybe the next line of item that I have here is my primary quantity, which is supposed to be 1.38.1.1.1. Hello, Ebuka. I have noted what you asked for. Say we have not touched substructure. All the things that we have been presenting here is not different from how you manipulate your substructure. It's still the same approach, still the same methodology. If anything, most oftentimes you may not have excavation being modeled for you. So that is why it may be a little bit cumbersome or different for you, difficult for you to be able to be taking up a volume of excavations and the rest of them. But since the application is manipulating for you, since the application will be manipulating some of them to a large extent for you, you'll be able to do one or few other aspects that is required of you. Like if I have on this very model that I have here, on this very model, maybe if I just ask this question under the question section so that I can be able to demonstrate it, so that it don't take us away from the line of presentation that we have already here. Okay, now I have this, let me continue. I have mechanical works that I want to talk about. And the next line of item, which is my primary quantities. I call it my primary quantities. Sorry, my primary items. Now my primary items, I want them to be enumerated, and I want the color to be bright enough. Let me use red for now. And I want it to be big. I can say maybe 10 inches. And I'm done. I want to do my takeoff. And the primary item that I have consigns to take off now is these sanitary wares that I have here. Just come here under your item here. You see this icon here. It is count. Come to the item that you want to take off, which is my primary item. Maybe give it a descriptive name, something like maybe WC. No, delete this one. Primary item. Under my primary item, I have work called WC. And I have another one, Waqsn Bim. So I want to take off two of these items. Now my WC now, I come down to the item of WC that I want to take off. Click the count, and this is one WC. This is the second WC. The third one should be here by default. And the fourth one also should be on this place. That's about it. When I'm done, I just click out. And if you look here descriptively, it's telling you that I have 4 WCs already taken off. Same also, I can do for my Waqsn Bim that is supposed to accompany every WC that I have. Add them anywhere around randomly. And I am done. Now, assuming that you have finished taking off all your quantities, you want to go to see how you can be able to manipulate this from this place going forward. To manipulate it now, I took off this wall. When I was taking off this wall, I took off this wall. Remember that this wall has a door that needed to be deducted. How do you deduct wall? Deduct opening on a wall in a 2-dimension. I was able to find a workaround which I want us to manipulate to play alongside with also. If I come down to that my wall, which I have here, my 150 block wall, which this is my 150 block wall. Where is that wall? You have to find the wall there. Okay. Where is this wall? It's not showing me. I'm trying to speak where that my wall is hiding, because I want to show us how we can be able to deduct for openings in this when we are working with 2D. It's here. But it's not picking up where it is. Okay, I have it here. It was hiding here. This is my wall. I want to show you how you can be able to pick up, do the manipulation for the door. Of course, you know the dimensions of the door from the door schedules. You have it already with you. Now come to your item catalog. This is what I want to do. I will create a folder in this place. And I'll call my folder 150 block. This item of block work for 150 block, I will cut it and I'll move it into that my folder. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to carry out deductions only that will affect the 150 block work. And I don't want it to deduct also the quantity that I have already taken off on the 230 block works. So I have it here already taken off 150 block work. Then I also come in in this environment and I also create a new item that I will call, I'll create a new group of items rather that I will call doors. The same way I have doors, I should also have windows, curtain wall, or anything that is I need to deduct, any opening that I need to deduct from this wall. I make sure I have it under the same group or under the same folder as the block wall that I want to, because this block wall here has quantity, and these other ones here are the quantities I want to use to subtract from this quantity before I come to the net quantity of block wall here. So the first window door that I have here is my first door, which is 750 door, 750 by 2100 door. I come down here. This is where it's tricky, because when you're talking about 2D takeoff, you are the one manipulating it by yourself mostly. The application is only doing basic things for you. The height of this my door is the same thing as 2.1 meters. The width of my door is the same thing as 0.75. And the area of my door is the same thing as my length times my width. If for any reason you are typing a formula and the application is flashing red here for you, it simply means that there is an error or something. The formula is not yet complete. As soon as it's complete, it will turn blue, and then you can click enter. Now I come down to my primary quantity. My primary quantity is equal to my area, and I enter. And the unit of my primary quantity is square meters. Now I come down to, let me start doing this takeoff. I have taken off one of the one of the wall. Let me take off the second one. Which is here, from here to here. The second one will run from here to here. And the third one will run from here to here. Now these are the 150 block work that I have. Now I want to deduct those openings, those door openings that are incidental on this wall. I will come down to my door and use count because I already have prepared it. Because I'm using a count tool, be careful. You should be able to, you should multiply the area of this door by the count, so that the application will be taking time. Each time you count, you count one, it will multiply it by the area. Each time you count one, it will multiply by the area. That's how it will be doing it. And then because I am talking deduction here, I want this area now to be deducted from the area of my wall. I will say, okay, multiply by -1. I don't know if you get the idea. because you want to convert it into a negative so that it will not be deducted from the aggregate of the walls that you have taken off. So if I now come down here and say, okay, deduct all my walls, deduct this door, deduct this door, deduct this door, and deduct this door. You look very well. If you look here, you will see that I will be having negatives. I'll be having negative going down, going forward, because it's deducting it. This is the block wall itself. It has been deducted. This is 48 that I'm having here. But these other ones that I have, this door that I have here has already been deducted because I made it negative. It's not coming through. Let me deduct it again. I think he was not picking up. I entered into a different place. Okay, it did not pick up. Sorry, forgive me. I am my mistake here. Instead of using height, I'm using width, length. That's why that thing was not coming through. But it should be able to pull through now. When we come down here, we should be able to see that now it has deducted and we have negative, minus, 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 minus. So total of all the deductions that I want to remove is about minus 12. And that minus 12 will be deducted from the 150 block that I have here. It has been deducted. This is the total of the block, 148. By the time the minus come up to it, it will deduct it at this level. It will deduct it at this very level. So this is how you can be able to manipulate some of these things. So let us export this in and move away from this environment. Let's see what it looks like in the when we have exported out the products that we have. I will place it on the desktop so that we'll see what it looks like. There is an approach I want to show us so that we can easily use it, because the information that is being given to us here. The information that you have here on the screen here can be very confusing. There are so many informations, cluster of information that you may not even know how to sift through them. But the easiest approach is, if you have been following the workflow that I mentioned of placing everything under your primary quantities, now this should be your consign, because you may not have issues on these other ones. Where you should focus more on is on the primary quantity, which is here. And under the primary quantities, you have the aggregate of all the information that you have been working with. Right? So now we have it. Remember I said your wall, 230 block wall, your 150 block wall is 48, which is the net area that you have measured, minus the 12.6, which is the net area of opening that you have. The deduction will come, and then you can move on from there. It has done it automatically. This is a work manipulation that I use to do most of my work. Then where I say you should focus more on is on this item pivot table. The item pivot table, if you're not used to pivot table, it might be a little bit confusing, but it simply shows you the information that you want to see. If I want to see only my floor, the total area of my floor, just collapse it only to the total area, to the floor level. Just click the minus sign on this side, and it will collapse it. Now, all that I'm seeing here is only the area of the floor finishes. So I can easily come down here and pick it up. Since this is my consign, you come and pick it up from here. Alternatively, if you want to look at the various types of floor finishes that you have, you might not need to narrow it down to any of the levels that you have created. in our own takeoff for the block wall that we did earlier, we narrowed it out to masonry. We have different layers of information on the masonry, which is this. You can say, okay, what my concern now is 150 block. You close down to 150 block wall and then narrow down, and you're seeing only what happens in the 150 block wall. That is what we have highlighted here. Again, there are the tendency for you to be overwhelmed by the level of information that is here, because the application is presenting them hierarchically the way it's accumulated. So don't allow it to overwhelm you. Simply come and close up the ones that you don't want to see, like this 230 block. I've closed up all the sub items that are under it. I can narrow down and pick up only the quantities that are important for me, which in this case is 618 square meters. Now, I also want to show us a typical workflow that I used to do. This one is not a demonstration. It's actually something that I work that was done in the past, so that maybe we can see how some of the things were presented there. Okay. Somebody is asking how to take care of services that are associated with piping and cabling. If we have any work that are electrical work or mechanical work that requires piping, you know, of course, pipe is measured in linear meter. The workflow is not too different from what we are presenting here. The only thing that differs is your definition of the items that you're going to be taking off. If you want to take off something like pipe, for example, let me collapse it and close it down to make our work more organized. Piping should be under mechanical works. Under mechanical works, I create a group of items that I will now call. I'll create a group of items that I will call pipes. Under my pipe, I will have different sizes of pipes. And of course, I will have different fittings for pipes. So let's say I have a pipe that is 50 mm pipe. Under my 50 mm pipe, I would have the pipe itself. And I will also have pipe fittings. The pipe itself is measured in linear meter, and the pipe fittings are measured in enumerated items, in numbers. So I come down to my pipe. The pipe I want to define is my 50 mm pipe. Is my 50 mm pipe. Now, this 50 mm pipe that I want to be using here, this one will be the one that will be running horizontally, because my presentation of my item will be in horizontal. But there are also ones that will be running vertically, which you cannot see from the 2 dimensions. So there is need for you to also define that type. So I will now create another item under my this of called pipe. I will create another item also there. I will call that one 50 mm pipe horizontal. Or some people call it riser. You can use the word riser or horizontal, whichever one that matters to you. Now, for this one that I call horizontal, I will come under my item catalog, under these properties of it, and I define the height. What is the height of the rise of that pipe? If it were to be a pipe that is running from one floor to the next floor, and the height of the room height, the headroom is about 3 meters. So you put it 3 meters plus maybe something like thickness of your slab, plus a little projection to get up to the level. If it were to be a pipe that will connect to a service like your WC, you give a little projection that will rise up to that level. So whatever it is that you want to add, you can add it here. You can add it here, say maybe 0.6. That's the addition that I have here under my height. Then under my primary quantity, what I will be having for my primary quantity will be my height times, that's my count. And I say enter. And the number unit here will now be in meters, because each height is about 3.06 meters high. And the total number that I will be counting is what you will now be using to multiply and give me. Vertical. I'm talking vertical. Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry, forgive me. This word is supposed to be vertical, not horizontal. Yes. It's supposed to be vertical. Then this one is the horizontal pipe. You can actually make it so that we don't mix them up when we are horizontal. All right. Now we are done with this now. So we can leave this environment and go to our takeoff to do the takeoff. Incidentally, I don't have any piping works that is available, but I will imagine these grid lines to be the running length of my pipe. Now we have a pipe that is running from this number 5 and running into our wall here, and it will rise on this wall, or rather it's running from this number E and running into our wall here. And from this our wall here, it will rise a height of 3.06 meters to the next floor. So to do that, I'll come down under my pipes. First, I'll choose the pipe that is horizontal. Remember, I am measuring horizontal work. So make sure you use this polyline that is you can use to measure horizontal works. And it will now run from this point and chamfer and corner and then terminate here. Now, if you look here, you see that I have my length. My linear length is already showing me here under perimeter length. It's same as my linear length. Then the next one I have to do is the riser, which is the vertical rise. I have already programmed it already. So all I need is just use the count to place it. I'll now come and place it here where it's supposed to do the rising. And as soon as I place it also, I have a height. I have a height and I have a linear meter. I have a height, but I did not put it on the linear meter. Instead, I added it directly into the primary quantities, which is by consign. So here now you see that it is giving me as 3.6 meters. So if I have another place where this thing is rising, this pipe is going to be rising, I only need to use this my count tool and indicate that this pipe is also rising here, another of that pipe is here, and the total will be aggregating. Now it has gone down to 7.2. If I rise it another point where any other place I have it again, it has gone down to 10.8, and maybe another place where it is. That's how you can take care of your vertical rises when you're doing your takeoff. As for horizontal rises, that one is by default. You have a tool to take care of that, which is already defined here, which is the polyline tool. So each time you want to do that one, just select it and move down to where you want to take off. And the application will be aggregating and calculating the quantities for you. Okay, so as part of the presentation, what we have packaged here is to also give insights into the different dimensions, how you can manipulate the different beam dimensions in the Navisworks environment. I know we know there is something called the 4th dimension of beam, which is integrating it with time, construction with time. And we have a model here presently, this model that we have been using. This is the model. I want to switch back to the model. I'll come here and double click the model and the 2D will go out and the model will open. So this is the model that we want to use. But we want to see how we can be able to sequence the model itself against timeline so that we can be able to track the construction time. So I will disable this. I'll close this one. I will enable my timeliner, which you should find here. I also close my properties. Now, if you open the timeliner environment window for the first time, this is what you will see. But to begin is as simple as coming here to say, oh, add task. Because you're looking at the construction work. Construction will be a task or activities. So the first task that you do, somebody asked a question, why are we talking about only superstructure? Well, nobody is mentioning substructure. The first task that you may do in this case might be your substructural activities, which is either site clearance, let me say site clearance. If you click enter, it will give you a default name, which is task, but you can override it and say site clearance. Automatically, it goes into the next one, which we can call excavation. And then all whatnot. Maybe, I don't know the next line of activity that we can talk about now. Maybe concrete foundation. Now, if you have it this way, look here, this is the name of my activities that I have. The next tab is the status of the activities. All of them are all ongoing. The next one that you have is the plan start and plan finish. There are times you might want to use a plan start and plan finish, as well as the actual time when the job actually started and when eventually it was completed. The essence of this is for you to know your progress, to know whether you are slacking, to be able to calculate some of these, your CPI and the rest of them that you do in project management. So for now, but I usually restrict myself because of the demonstration that we do to only using the plan start and plan finish. But if you choose to use the actual start and actual finish, there is no problem about that too. So if you come down into this plan start, click here, it will open up for you a calendar. Let's say this project that we are doing today, our site clearance will start on this day. It has picked today's date. And then the site clearance is a one-day activity. It will also end on this day. Then we have the next activity, which is we will start our excavation from tomorrow. We choose tomorrow, and tomorrow happens to be Sunday. So we'll choose Monday, which is the next working day. And then it will be a 2 days activity, which will elapse by 12th. Concreting will start immediately on the same 12th, on 13th, and is scheduled to finish on the 14th. So this is how you can be able to populate and add information of time on your project. This is on the one aspect. Now, the next aspect is for us to find a way to relate this task that we have connected here, we have described here. How does it relate with this model that you have here? There are so many approaches that we have. There are so many ways that people have actually used to describe it. Some will say, okay, create search cells, search sets that you can use. And a search set is something that you click and it will be able to select all that properties at a go. I'm sure QS Usman mentioned it earlier. So, but I discovered something that that is most useful for us, because the application has to a large extent prepared so many views of this model that it's all a matter of you choosing the one that you prefer. And I have discovered that the one that is most preferable and easy to access, let me open up my selection tree. The one that is very easy for us to use is whenever you come under the selection tree, by default, it opens up on the standard. But if you click this standard, you should be able to access other properties that are there. Choose properties. Now, when you choose properties, I'm sure by the time you look into this place, you'll be able to see a lot of things that you recognize. Some naming conventions that are familiar to you. So in this case now, I want to talk about something like maybe if you're looking for something that has to do with category, you're not sure of the category. So you can always come under category if you have category listed there and pick it up. But for this application that we have here, I have prepared a view that I'm supposed to use for this thing, this work, and I called it item task ID. And if I go through here, I should be able to see my task ID somewhere listed here. That my task ID, what my task ID means is that all this, when we are preparing this model, let me show you something. When you look at this model that I have here, and I'll open up the property windows to explain this. When you look at this model, it tells me that this model, this word I'm selecting is on layer, first floor finish level, 03. And then you come down further, there is something called custom. This custom is saying that this wall has a task ID of B31. Now this will be very useful for me because it was created as a parameter in the Revit environment. And then the model has carried it on, even onto this environment, into the Navisworks environment, because that is where I want to latch on to manipulate my time by the time I'm sequencing it or connecting it with some other applications like Primavera, project, Microsoft Project, and CSV Excel files. But for now, there is something we can do, which is we can match it if we have such cells, such sets that we have prepared already. We can match it against the search sets. Otherwise, we can match it against items that are already on our this thing here. We can match it against these items that are already here. So for that, what I want to do is under site clearance, I will match my site against this item. I choose my site and come down here and say attach to correct selection. When I say attach to correct selection, it simply means that whenever the application is discussing sites, whenever it's time to display sites, it will show this site. Because under my attached, there is something called attached. Forgive me, this application requires you to use as many windows as possible so that you can drop some of these things on different windows while you're presenting. But we are using a small desktop. That's why everything is clustered together. So under here, you will see there is something called attached. It's telling me that my site is attached to my site clearance. The same way also, I can go and look at, let me naked this model. I will hide the architectural, so I will look at this other one, the structural. So the same way also, I can come down to under my excavation. What are the things that I'm going to be excavating? I'm going to be excavating all my, all this one, as well as all this other one. So I'll use my selection tree, select same type, same name. I've selected all of them at the same time. So I will attach them under my excavation because that is what we'll be excavating for, to place. You say attached to collect selection. So this is how we can be able to attach them. Go ahead to attach different components to different aspects. Like now, maybe I want to do my concrete works, this ground floor, these ones. I can say, okay, select same name or same name, and attach them to concrete works. As I'm building up all these things, there is something that is also important for you to note. Under task type, make sure that task type you are using is construct, because you're building. If for any reason what you're presenting here is supposed to be temporary, you can still indicate it as temporary. And when you finish, you go down to your simulate tab. And under the simulate tab, you have to play the button. Now, as you can see, like I mentioned to us now, this is the next item that will be coming. The face of the item that will be coming is being displayed to me as in green. But you can actually go further and play it further now. And then the time will skip through and manipulate the applications while it's not doing the construction. I know it did not show us the excavation because I hid the site here. So let me just enable that site and hide the other aspect of it. so that we can be topology. I don't select it. So I'll play it again. Let's see how it works. But now what I did here is what I just did here is just a manual way of doing it. There is actually a more automated process of doing it, way of doing this thing I just did now. That automated process is by going down to the same way I was able to set up this manual approach. But instead of using all these ones, I will just go ahead and delete all of them and delete the whole task. The automated process of doing it is going to the data source. Under my data source, I have CSV file. If you want to integrate it with Primavera, you can use Primavera or Microsoft Project or any of them. But for now, I have this in already exported in CSV file. I go to my CSV file, search for the folder that I have, which is in my drive here, which is in this place. And this is the folder of my activities. I try to bring it in. Now the application is trying to relate with information I'm bringing in. It's trying to merge it with information that is already available in the Navisworks environment. For example, under my name, task name, my task name should be the activity name. Under my task type, the task type should be the type of a task that you have, either construction or whatever. For now, it's under saved it as status. Then there is also need for you to create a unique identifier that the application will be using to merge and connect with. In this case, my unique identifier is stored under my link. And of course, I have my start, plan start, which is my start, and my plan finish, which is also my finish. Then you can go further because you're stimulating, because we want to extend it to the extent of simulating for the 5th dimension, which is merging the cost aspect to the time aspect. I have also prepared some things here. I can say, okay, we have material cost that we have, which is stored under material. And we have also equipment cost that we have, which is stored under equipment. And we have labor cost that we have, which is stored under my labor cost. As soon as I've done these basic ones, setups, I can now go ahead and say, okay. Once I say, okay, the application requires me to come down to refresh here and refresh all data. And because you are creating it for the first time, you need to do area. Sometimes, because of the setup, you might have error reports like this. But when you go ahead into your task environment, it has been able to import this thing. But somehow it staggered all the task. I think this is coming from the date. This error that I'm having here is coming from the date variation that I have here. The system format of dating is different from the system format of dating from where I prepared this thing. That's why it's giving me all this error that I have here. But once you have gotten this far, the easiest aspect to do is, remember I showed us something about these properties. And I have a unique key that relates to this thing from the custom environment. It's under my custom environment, custom here. You see task ID. Under my task ID, I have a lot of things that I have. All of them, if I'm selecting them, different aspect of this thing will be selected here. So I have to come under my, once I come down here, come to the attach. Under this attach, there is an automatic auto attach using rules. Click that auto attach using rules. We are going to be creating a new rule here. And the new rule is, you come and click new. The new rule is, we use the last option here. The new rule is that we're going to be merging names that are contained in our custom, in our unique item. And we are merging them with things that are names that are contained in our custom ID. And relating it to only the task ID. And I say, okay. And I say, okay. And I apply that rule. It takes some seconds and the application will apply the rules. It has gone ahead to apply the rules. And now you see that this thing is not attached, automatically is not attached to this my model. So if I come down to also my task type, If I come down to my tax type, and say fill down, I come down to my tax type, and now I come down and say, okay, simulate this thing which I have just presented. Let me unhide all. Unhide all. I say play. Now you see the construction sequence will just be taking place according to what has been done. But because the dating and the timing, the application exchange, it destroyed all. The sequence is not correct at all. Because of the dating format that I use here is different from the dating format of the originating application where this thing was prepared. So that's why you have it like this. But either way, every other aspect worked well, minus this dating aspect, which is giving us issue. Here also, you can be able to show this other item of cost, which I mentioned to you before. But the cost is also carried on in this environment. And they are all here. When you come to the tax type, look further here, you will see total cost. And then if you want to display material cost and the rest of the cost, they should be available here. So if there are questions now, I would like to stop now. If there are questions, I may address the questions particularly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, QS Chijioke. Even though we've exceeded our timing, but I guess that we are getting so much, we are not even looking at the time. So is there any question, please? Then if you have question, please raise your hand so that you will call upon to unmute. Or you can drop it in the chat box.
Okay, there is a question here that says, when we overcount, how do we handle it? Yes, when you overcount and you're unable to find, if you can find exactly where you have counted wrongly, you can just go and delete it. And when you delete it, you can easily do updates, refresh. Okay, you can do refresh. For example, I want to manipulate something. Let me go to view and enable that quantification view. Enable quantification. Okay. Now we have done some counting here earlier. And then maybe we'll discover that we counted some items twice. Like in this case now, I know I counted some of these walls twice. My wall, masonry wall. That my 150 block wall, my window. I will change the color so that it will be very visible that we have counted it twice. Change the color to something that is more vibrant. Red. Now you see that we counted them twice. The easiest thing is to do is you can select all of these ones that you want to delete. Sometimes when you select and you want to select again, it doesn't show. But when you refresh your scale by moving your this thing up and on, done, it will show you that that item has been selected. Now the process of deleting here is, it's always difficult sometimes to delete it completely. You might delete something and it will still be available as part of what things that you have taken off. So you just have to be more conscious when you are deleting things. When I select it like this, I will say right click and say, select corresponding takeoff. Now it has selected those takeoff for me. I now know that I have those takeoff exactly selected. So I can just right click on them and say delete takeoff. It has deleted only those takeoff which I have selected. But if I have just gone ahead to select only one and click delete, the chances is that it will simply delete this one, but it will not remove it from my takeoff list items that I've taken off. So this is the proper approach for you to do your takeoff, to do your deleting when you have overcounted or overmeasured anything. Click that item on the markup on the sheet. Right click and say select corresponding takeoff objects. It will select it, and then you can go ahead in this environment and say delete takeoff if the idea or the motive is to delete takeoff. while I'm waiting for questions, let me open a work that we did in the past on this regard using this application. This work was done sometime in 2020 during the coronavirus era. It actually shows us that there is actually no limit to the extent that you can apply this application to achieve whatever it is that you do. This is a multi-purpose project that was executed somewhere in Abuja. Now, I also used the BESMN4 organization to manage some of the information that I have here. Under my substructure, I have a lot of items taken off. Somebody was talking about we're not doing substructure. This is how substructure was manipulated in this environment, in this case. I have excavation and filling, which was created in my items catalog. Under excavation and filling, I have removing trees and rest of them because it's a veggie site. Then we have excavation proper. Under excavation proper, I have pit excavations and I have the normal trench excavation. In my pit excavation, because pit, there are different types of columns that I have. That is why I have to create a grouping for my pit excavation. I have my column type 1 and I have my shafts. If I open the application to to the ground floor now, foundation plan, you should be able to see this takeoff that I'm showing under my foundation. So this is the kind of foundation that we had on that job. Somewhere here we have the lift at the center here. But all those takeoff was taken into account, all those things that we're talking about now. So when we are doing the takeoff for the different pits, I come here and I said, okay, each of my pits is about 1.9 meter by 1.9 meter. And the depth of my excavation is about 1.95 meters. That gives me that in the area of my pits is about length, which is 1.9. Okay, 3.9 rather, forgive me. 3.9 times the width, which is also 3.9. That gives me the area. And the volume of my excavation is this my area, which I've already defined here, times my height, which I also have defined here, which is 1.95. That gives me the volume. And like I mentioned, a proper workflow should be that you collect all the information that are useful to you in the primary quantities environment. So that is why I am extracting only the volume and putting it on my primary quantities. And of course, the unit is cubic. So that is how it moves in this case now to give me about 29.66 cubic meter of pit excavation. Similarly also, when we came to the thing about wall is under internal and external works, wall, and we have block wall, and we have 225 block wall. Now, see what I have here, which I explained to us earlier. I have my wall, which is the 225 block wall. I have block also, which is on the parapet. And I also have another block, which is also on the parapet, but it's half of the other size. And then I now created the openings that will be deducted, which is, I said, less opening. So if you come into the item catalog to look at exactly what I'm trying to describe here, under this my less opening, look at what I did here. Less opening is a less opening. I give it a description. Try to look at what I did here. I am matching this less opening, which is description, and I'm matching it to minus item 124. What this simply means is that when I move it into my Excel environment, I want the quantity that will be coming out from here to be deducted from quantities that will be contained in item 124. And now, if I come to my wall, I will discover that my wall is that item 124 that I have here. This is actually a manipulation because this application is not meant to be doing some of these things automatically, but it's a manipulation I was able to, a workaround I was able to define to use it and work around this environment, around this aspect. So if you define your block wall and give it a unique ID, like in my case, 124, And then the deduction you want to deduct, you want to also give it a unique ID, which is -124. Then by the time I export it to Excel, which I did somewhere, I will still run it now, which I did, it will now be deducting itself one after the other. So let me run that quickly in Excel and do the export so that we'll see what it looks like when you export it out. But it will take some time, some while to export. While we're waiting for it to export, if there are questions, I can still address them after now, because this might take a little while because of the volume of information that is here.
Someone sent a direct message to me, something on the date, that we should please check the date, that maybe the date we picked is affecting.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's not the date that is the problem. The problem was that the system I'm using is not the system I use in preparing this presentation. But because of a login constraint, I had to use a different system, and the dating format in that system is not allowing this thing to run through, allowing some of my prepared presentations to run through very well.
And someone is asking if they can have the template for the taking off.
Yes, I will extract that template for the taking off for distribution.
Can be edited.
Yes, I will extract it for distribution as well as the dummy bill of quantity that we use. But I also have to put the caveat here that the bill of quantity was not based on BESMM4R. It was based on BESMM4 before they revised. So it might not be too useful to them because there were a lot of deviation from the 4 and the 4R. You can agree with me on that too. So, but I will still, nonetheless, I will still export it out, but without the, I will just do some amendment to keep the privacy of the project intact. So, I think this thing has finished exporting. Now I can now go ahead and open it. When I open it here, all right, when I open it now, look at what I showed you. Some of those keys that you see me put are here. These are things that I'm using to track each quantity that they will be relating together. If I come down to 124, which is my block wall, if I come down to 124, which is my block wall, this is 124. And this is the second 124, which is the deduction that will be happening. So let me now go to my primary quantity so that you see how this thing is being arranged. Now, this is the deduction that will be happening on it, and this is the main work itself. This is two of them here, which is minus 113 square meters, and the other one is up. All of them are going up, aggregating up and deducting accordingly. Because I introduced negative, and the negative will always be canceling out themselves. You don't even need to be monitoring it anymore. They will just be deducting themselves out automatically. So this is the total of the 124, which is my block wall, is now going over straight into my this is the total of the 124. This is total of the 124, where it's deducting all the openings. It said 124 minus 125. So it has deducted all the openings and it will not translate it down. But there is something I said I did here in the past. when we are creating this thing. We use Excel to manipulate so that the application we look for, it will come automatically and bind this thing in the bill of quantity and extract the quantities directly from these exports. We don't have to be inputting the quantities directly again. So let me open that file also and launch it, because the Excel will tell us that it's looking for that file. I'm looking for BOK export. BOK. Okay, it should be here. That's what I'm trying to locate the file. So is this my flash? Is where I learned this one from now. I'm trying to open my flash. Inside this flash. See, I think virus have taken it. This is virus. This is virus. That be your quantity. Okay, I have the bill. I found the bill now. So that we'll see what happens. As soon as I launch the bill of quantity, because I have it connected, the bill of quantity will be telling me that it's looking for quantity. You cannot be able to find the quantities. I'm waiting for it to launch. Now it has launched. So if you look here, you'll see my bill of quantity. I have a lot of error. Everywhere it's telling me error, 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 error. Error, error, error. You cannot be able to find because it's looking to connect and get the quantities from the file. But the file is not where it's supposed to be. Because when I come under my B1, well, let's wait for it to refresh. When I come under my B1, and I have items like this item that I have here for my window, the quantity is supposed to be coming from, these are a formula of quantity that we put, that we're supposed to search our computer and go and pick up the quantity from my desktop where I will keep it, look for temporary file, look for multipurpose file, multipurpose center, and then bring it in the new quantities, which is what we have exported out from the Navisworks. It will look at it there, look for a particular number, which is this number I have here highlighted, 127. 127 that also has EA each. Once it sees it, it will simply use it and populate it here. This is how I was able to do it. But after this exercise, like I promised, I will make available this file for people to use and maybe use it to see how they can be able to manipulate this thing. But I also have to encourage quantity surveyors to try and learn Excel as much as possible, because almost all the applications that you use in quantity surveying environment, they have one interface or the other with Excel. So it's also very important for us to get more understanding on how to manipulate Excel to use it and achieve whatever it is that we have in mind. So that will be all for now. And I thank you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Are you done, sir?
Yes, sir. That will be all for now.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, QS Chijoke. QS Stanley, anything?
Good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate your patience and your active participation We are going to send the software to your email, but please note the software is very heavy. It's over 2.6 or 2.5 gig, close to 2.6 gig. So when you are downloading, you should look for where you have a very good network, so that it won't be that when you've downloaded up to 70%, then it fails and you have to start again. So just get a good location where you have a stable network before you start downloading. Now, when you download, you install. Also note that it's a trial version. It's not the full license version. After you use it for some time, if you are interested in purchasing the software, you can contact the developers from their website. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Doctor, any information for us?
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone present for the patience. Like I've always said, software, learning software is not a one-day affair. It will require practicing and practicing and practicing. But thank God, we are on ground. Even after this training, please feel free to call us if you need further clarification. Thank you very much. And I want to use this opportunity to still encourage every one of us. Next Saturday will be the last day of training. Please, come and come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. And I want to thank QS Olayemi's man, QS Chijoke. Thank you very much for today. And I believe you are on the platform too. QS Stanley, the two of them are on the platform.
Yes, madam, on the platform.
Okay. So thank you everyone for being here. We appreciate it. God bless you. Next Saturday, while we are rounding up, any issues you have, please drop it on the WhatsApp platform. Thank you very much. Chairperson.
Yeah, I really appreciate everyone for your time and participation for today's session. KS Olayemi Usman and KS Chijoke, thank you so much for your time and for putting this together for us to learn. Actually, I was looking at the time and I was enjoying it. I didn't want it to stop, but we'll have to stop. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Dr. Fide and KS Stanley, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, everyone. See you next Saturday by God's grace. God bless you.
Okay, bye.